Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Red Dot Forum Camera Talk. I am one of your co-hosts, David Farkas. I'm joined by Josh Lehrer.
Hello, everyone.
And producing the show, we've got Jose Rovira.
Hello, hello.
In the comments, Kirsten Vignes is hanging out and helping you guys out. And so welcome to another episode. This is the second in our Gearing Up series.
Our infinite number of parts, because we haven't decided yet. Gearing Up
Yep.
series. And what are we talking about today? In the first of two parts of this
Yes.
multi-part series.
So we know this is a pretty large thing. So what we're going to do is talk about landscape photography with Leica cameras, but we're going to call this big landscape, okay? Because we're talking about primarily what you see on the table here. Well, maybe you can't see. The SL and the S.
Yes. So this is the first of two parts of landscape photography. We know a lot of people will have questions about M and monochrome, M10R, etc. That's going to be in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So you probably could ask questions if you want, and we'll write
get
them
to
down.
it next-
Write them down, but we're not going to
Exactly.
actually answer any M or rangefinder landscape questions in this episode. We're going to dedicate a whole episode just for that. So today is SL, or I would say SL system, S system.
Right.
So if you have questions about an S2 or an SL601, we can answer them.
Yeah. And kind of what we're talking about is how to build up a kit, how to choose, there's a going joke of like, well, what should I bring? And what am I saying? Bring all the things, bring everything, right?
Well, if you see what's behind us, you'll understand the whole bring everything.
Big bags.
That's the theme of the night. It's the more things, the better. As if that wasn't our theme of our entire show. But especially tonight, and especially with this gentleman, who is the bringer of all the things. What?
I'm just taking a look here.
Oh, I see.
Why
Are we having a problem?
I don't know. I hope not.
Are we having a problem? I mean, other than our personal problems? Any
Doesn't look
comments?
like it, no?
Oh, it's just laggy.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just laggy.
Okay. We're very a little skittish after the last episode, where we had some snafus, if you will, meteors related. So
Solar flares.
forgive us for being extra
Aliens.
paranoid today. So we have a lot of questions that were submitted ahead of time. We're of course going to try to get to those probably first. We're going to be keeping an eye on the chat as well. Answer those questions. I think, given the wide breadth of this topic, we'll talk about gear, of course, but we also can talk about gear techniques.
Sure.
I think, in terms of how it relates to some of the Leica gear that we have on the table. So tell us, David, a little bit about, before we get to questions, your sort of landscape photography and Leica history, because you've done a lot with those two things together, probably more than almost anyone in the world in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Give us a little breakdown, some of the places you've been, the short breakdown, just to give the viewers a little bit of backstory about
Gotcha.
where you're coming from.
Sure. Well, I have spent, I'd say what's sitting on this table now is what I primarily have shot for landscape photography over the last 11 years now, I guess. Obviously, I've shot other systems before that, but really, I'd say moving into the S2, the S006, then the S007, the S3, I've been through the SL601, now the SL2, and have used all of these systems extensively on many outings. So one of the things that I do is I lead landscape photography workshops, although we'd like to refer to them as photo adventures, right? Because I think it's a lot more fun to be with like-minded people who all share this common interest of, there's a
There's
dog.
a dog. I left this collar on, so I usually take it off. It's so noisy. Carry on.
Have a common interest and really just enjoy spending time together. We work in small groups. Generally, the workshops are a 1-to-4 ratio, so an instructor leader to 4 attendees, and that way it helps us, maintain a really, small group atmosphere, more intimate, and everybody gets to know everybody else. And, we don't run these huge, monstrous,
Yeah, I mean, we
tour
have
bus type
12 participants
at most.
usually.
At most, yeah. 12 at most, sometimes 8, depending on how many people
Yeah.
we have leading it.
Yeah.
And I've shot, I don't know, in Iceland more than half a dozen times. Norway a few times in the wintertime, which is great. Patagonia, Argentina, and Chile.
And domestically also.
Domestically.
I mean, I've been with you. We've done New England twice, fall foliage.
Yep.
We did Keys and Everglades. We did Monument
Valley.
Valley. So David and I have put this gear through its paces quite a lot over the last decade.
Yes, very much
We've
so.
broken stuff, and we've seen all the problems you're ever going to see, and we've dropped things and scratched things and learned from our mistakes
Yes.
and slip-ups, and hopefully we can impart some of that knowledge tonight. So that's enough rambling. Jose, do you have any good questions for us?
Sure. Let's get started. Exactly how weather sealed are the S3 and SO2? Can I really shoot in the rain?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, this all really started with the S2, which was Leica's first medium format digital camera that came out, well, I guess was announced in 08, really started shipping in 09, 2010. And we frequently would do demos where we would just pour a bottle of water all over the camera and the lens.
This one specifically.
Yes, this lens has been soaked so many times. So I'll let David expand that a little bit, but the short version is yes, the cameras are surprisingly, shockingly weather resistant. I mean, what are some of the experiences you've had?
Well, actually, just to show this, because we just posted on Instagram. So just on Thursday, we went out and Kirsten was actually in town, and we did a photo shoot to try to, fake not Miami. We wanted to appear that we're somewhere else.
Don't tell your secrets.
Oh, yeah, wait. I mean, we went to the mountains of Miami.
Yes, yeah. I think it was Fort Lauderdale, but yeah.
It was, yeah. So, where is it here?
I don't think it's on their page, and it's been more than 24 hours.
Oh, no. Really? Oh.
Well, we had a great video of David basically hosing off the SL2.
Yeah, with a garden hose sprayer. And because what happened is
and that's this camera right here,
that one, yeah.
which is working perfectly fine.
So we went to the beach, and it was extraordinarily stormy and windy, and it actually felt like being on a real workshop because we were just misery and getting pounded with rain.
Yeah.
And we made it, we even commented because Kirsten was shooting with the SL2. I was modeling with this SL2, and Gabe was there too, and he was shooting with the Q2. And we're all like, oh, isn't it great that we can just get drenched in the rain but not have to worry about our gear?
Yeah.
And that, yes, the reality is we didn't have to call off the shoot or anything like that or duck for cover. We ended up, drenched and soaked to the bone.
Yeah.
But the cameras were fine. I was more worried about the salt water accumulating on it.
Yeah.
So when I got back to my house, I hosed everything off.
Yeah, I think the crux of it is all about the gear can handle it.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're shooting in a wet environment, I'm not talking about under a waterfall. There's limits.
I have.
But not like not directly in the waterfall's path. You can make the pictures you want without being limited by the equipment.
Yeah.
In that respect, you can just be out in the pouring. You may be miserable and cold and wet, and you want to have your own rain gear on, but the camera is going to be just fine. Now, of course, as we've talked about before, you do not want to change memory cards, batteries, lenses. You don't want to compromise the camera's sealing in any way because that will make it not weather sealed anymore and it'll get ruined.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure not only that you don't do that in the rain or over the mist, but that when you do go to change a lens or whatever, the camera is dry. Because as soon as you pop out the battery on an SL2 or take off a lens, it's no longer weather sealed. So any water that's on the body, even if it's not raining, if it gets in there, they're done for.
Exactly.
So you definitely want to make sure that you do all that in a dry environment or when the camera is dry. So
Here's a good little, just pop over the screen real
switch to
quick.
the old copy?
Yeah. Just, I mean, nothing fancy, but this says
we're not there yet.
okay.
It's
Jose, just get a quick shot of the computer screen if you can.
Not showing up.
Oh, you broke it.
Oh, I broke it.
I think. Well, I saw you.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you're there. You go. That should work.
Technical.
Now. There
Hey.
it is. Yeah.
So this is just that's me down there. That's Peter. If you guys want to know what Peter looks like, that's Peter. So this is a group we took to Patagonia last year. So obviously small group with 3 leaders on that and 12 people.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun, and obviously that was a great scenario.
Yeah, you can come back to us, Jose. Yeah, I think to sum up that question and get on to the next one, yes, the SL system and the S system cameras are weather sealed. You can shoot in the rain. They're not submergible. You can't dunk them in water. They have limits, but it's actually surprisingly effective.
But yeah, and when I actually, the first time I went out to try the SL2, I went out to Olympic National Park last fall, and I shot in the rainforest for 6 straight hours of torrential downpour.
And it was fine.
And it was fine. I was not, but it was fine.
I think there's a water-related question on that list, Jose.
Yeah.
We can keep this sort of theme going.
Yeah. What precautions should I take when shooting in very wet conditions?
A rain shell
For your body.
for you,
Your
yeah.
human body, not your camera body.
But for the camera, if you want to hand me the little,
these?
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So these are a really cool product.
Are these linked? And we didn't talk about this.
Oh yeah, I have links in the
So
description.
say everything that
Yep.
David is going to talk about tonight is linked in the video description. You don't have to furiously write it down. It's going to
Nope.
be there. Sorry. Carry on.
It is in the video description.
Yes.
So these are called Wise Dries.
Can we get a close up on those? There we go.
Okay, so Wise Dry. This is actually a 6-pack of, I think these are 50 grams a piece. And the reason they are shrink wrapped still is because I haven't opened them. They're nice and fresh, which means they haven't been used. So these are a desiccant, kind of like big silica packs. But the cool thing is they're not single use like the ones that come in all the products. These are rechargeable, and you can actually pop them in the microwave to recharge them. So if I want to go on an outing, I can put these into my camera bag. So even if you can come back to me. So even if I'm, out getting soaked on the beach or in the rainforest, and my bag is a little damp inside, and the lenses, if I'm, seeking shelter, changing lenses, and the lenses are wet on the outside, obviously that moisture is going to sit in your camera bag. So putting these inside your camera bag can make a world of difference because at least it'll keep the moisture contained from getting into the electronics.
Yeah.
And then usually what I'll do is if I'm going back to the hotel or a motel or wherever, I want to make sure to keep my bag open, take the lenses out, take the caps off, and just set them out by the heater, and they should dry out nicely overnight. I've very rarely have had any issues. If anything, I've had a little bit of condensation behind the front element or behind the viewfinder, things like that.
And just to be clear, just
it
to
works.
interrupt for a second, that condensation on a weather shield body, as long as you let it air out, it's not going to harm it.
Exactly.
You don't want to let it sit there for weeks. That would probably be bad.
No.
But you follow David's advice, use the desiccant, let it air out. It's not going to cause mold or any kind of, at least not that I've ever seen.
No.
On the old Leica stuff that wasn't coated well, from the 60s and 70s, okay. But this is modern stuff. It's pretty durable. Because I know there was a question about how to deal with going from like air conditioning to...
There was, yeah.
So we want to touch on that a little bit?
Honestly, I don't really give it too much thought.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that in the cold, wet places I shoot, like Iceland,
Yeah.
You're generally wearing your jacket inside also. It's not that warm. But I haven't really had the issue. The only issue where I've had condensation,
Yes.
where it's just unusable,
Yeah.
is actually in South Florida, in Miami.
Yeah.
Because we have really cold especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
We have really cold air conditioning that cuts the humidity down to about 50% because it's running constantly. And then your bag is super chilled. All the lenses, even if your bag is sitting inside up against a wall or on a table, and you go out to shoot, and I've been there, you want to shoot birds, for instance, you go to an aviary and take your camera out and immediately just a layer of haze over the front element
Yeah.
on the outside. So you try wiping it off with lens cloth, and it just magically reappears.
Yeah.
Because the glass is so dense and so cold
Yeah.
that the hot, 95% Florida humidity just immediately sticks to it. And what really works there is you just leave it out in the sun.
Yeah.
Because you got to heat up the front element as much as you can.
There's no super secret way to get rid of it. It just has to equalize.
Yeah.
It has to, yeah. So if you're going to go from a cold air conditioned environment to a humid outside environment, just give yourself some lead time, or at least if you're at home, leave the gear
Outside.
somewhere safe if you can, or in fact maybe,
In a mudroom or something?
yeah, just try to get it equalized to the ambient.
I mean, that's what we do. Let's say, when we do Norway, we're going to Lofoten, Norway, and it's February or January, and it's really cold outside, as you might imagine, and the heat is actually really nice and hot inside. So very often, the cabins that we rent there have a mudroom that's sort of not all the way cold, but not warm, and we'll just leave our camera bags in the mudroom, take the batteries out to charge, and that way we're sort of equalized already.
Yeah.
So there's just different strategies,
Yeah.
and I think like what Josh is saying is it really depends on your level of security, whether or not
you can just leave it outside.
whether or not you could leave it in your vehicle or out on the porch.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
Generally, when you're in the middle of nowhere, Norway, no one's going to take your camera.
But we're always just up against physics at that point.
Yeah.
Going from cold to hot, you just got to let it.
But it's a real thing. It's a real concern.
Yeah.
But through all of it, and with all these various lenses, all these cameras, I've never, not once, and yes, even standing under waterfalls, in the rain, I've never had a single body or lens fail on me due to water.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite a statement. And I also don't know of anyone else, unless they've actually dropped the camera into a body of water.
I'll give us an example or something to keep in mind, because I handle a lot of the customer care intake at the store, is if you're not, I don't want to say if you're not careful, but if something happens to the sealing on the back of your lens, you can introduce moisture because the sealing is compromised. So if you're going into an environment where it's going to be a lot of moisture or a lot of water, I actually will check the seals on the lenses.
Sure.
I don't know if you can get a close-up on this or not, Jose. It's probably pretty difficult. But, all the lenses have gasketing around the mount. And if that gets torn, which I have seen in rare instances, not from no reason, but you can't even really see it here. But basically, right around this edge, there's a rubber gasket. So if you're going into a really intense, wet or rainy environment, just check your gaskets on your lenses before you do that to make that part of your workflow. And what I mean initially when you're first going out, and see if there's anything compromised. And if you see that, you just know not to use that lens and then get it fixed later. So just a minor piece of advice for that in terms of to avoid any kind of failure. Okay, we talked a lot about water. Yep. What do we got next?
All right. We can stay on the topic of weather. Let's see. Any tips for cold weather shooting?
Stay warm.
Yeah, we got the.
I have some stuff here. So
where are they?
the hand warmers.
Here they are. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's little things. So I think I might have some. Okay, so let me roll back a second. I have a. Nope, that's not it. I have an article on Red Dot Forum on how to dress for landscape photography. So actually, let me kick over to that just to show that, because I think it's pretty interesting in terms of, a lot of photographers that I've been on these trips with, maybe they even live in cold climates. I mean, I live in, Miami. So who am I to tell you how to dress if you live in Minnesota?
You do ski, so.
I do ski, and,
Yes.
and it's interesting. So I have had people who come on workshops and they say, I ski, I know how to dress for cold weather. Very, very different, because when you're skiing, it's a aerobic activity. You're actually generating body heat, and you want to dress less clothes so that you don't overheat and get sweaty. When you're doing landscape photography outside, generally it is a lot of standing around waiting in one spot, not moving, which means you're not generating body heat. So you have to dress. Nope, I think you had it, Jose. The last one. There you go. Nope.
Not the close-up. Well, look, we want to show the warmers.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Okay. So there's little tricks and stuff. So this actually you use when skiing too. This is, we get a close-up there. This is little, hot hands, hand warmers, right? So you get 2 hand warmers. They're just air activated. You tear them open, and super easy. Okay.
Here we go.
And you put them in your hands, whatever, but simple stuff. Keep them on the back of your palms, not on the front of your palms. That way you can, all the blood flows to the back of your hands, not the front. We have some interesting things happening with our in-studio monitors here.
I wish you guys could see what Jose is doing over here.
He's really having a party with the
really,
monitors.
Are you okay over there, Jose? Do you need a beer? Can you?
Sorry, if you're wondering what we're doing. Technical break real quick. Okay. Other thing, have gloves that are that you can actually operate the camera with. And one of the things I really like about the S and the SL specifically is that I can actually operate them not just, so I'll have liner gloves, plus I can even have down mittens over that, and I can still operate the camera.
Yeah, I'll just cut it because I have a pair of those like thin. Maybe
Yeah, I have
Under
them right
Armour.
here.
Do you have them?
Yeah.
Those liner gloves, like thin gloves, and I swear by those things.
I think I have some right here.
Things? Yeah, here, I'm gonna hold this. It's a team effort here.
Here we go.
There we go. These things are awesome.
Yeah, I have a link to these. These are called Black Diamond Screen Tap Midweight Liner Gloves. This happens to be one actually that I wore through because you can see there's a hole in the thumb now. Maybe you can't see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are great. And the reason they're screen tap is because you can actually use your fingers to operate the touchscreen on the SL2. So it's a big inconvenience if you're wearing gloves and you can't operate that rear screen because it really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
little things like that.
Super handy. And
But-
again, even though we live in South Florida, David and I still travel to cold climates to photograph or to hang out.
Yeah.
You want to change the pace a little bit, you know.
And another suggestion is, and part of this is you can find a lot more details on this. I'm not going to give you a clothing guide here, but like this is my down jacket. Okay, this weighs, I think, a little less than 8 ounces, and yet it will actually, and it folds down to the size of a liter bottle, right? But this will keep me warm just over what I'm wearing now, down to about 45 degrees. So even if I'm out doing regular travel shooting or whatever, it's always good to have this because weather in some of the most beautiful places, be it New England or Iceland or wherever, or Patagonia, it could be 70 degrees and sunny. Sorry for the international people, but
I don't know.
I don't know what that is in
20,
Celsius.
20, I don't know.
yeah, but basically, it could be this sunny, beautiful day, and you're out in just a hiking shirt, and then all of a sudden, the sky turns gray, the skies open up, it's raining, and suddenly it's 40 degrees,
Yeah.
and you'll be really glad to have, let's say, a small down jacket and a small Gore-Tex shell. So this is an Arc'teryx shell that weighs also, I think, maybe about 10 ounces and is completely 100% waterproof. But the idea is that I can put these into the outside, like here, I can actually clip this onto my camera backpack without taking up any space inside. Same thing here, I can attach it or use some of the straps here to kind of loop this in on the outside.
Yeah.
And I've just tucked it in the hood. So this alone allows me to go out in conditions where, very variable. It can start off as a nice day, but if the weather turns sour, you're going to want that. For really cold stuff, obviously I have heavier weight stuff, but I could just show you guys, I have different scenarios for a kind of a warm weather scenario and other things.
Well, do you have a link to the clothing article in the description?
I probably do.
If not, you'll put it in there.
I'll put it in there.
Because it is
It's a good resource.
I mean,
yeah.
David spent a lot of time going over
Yeah, here.
everything.
Yeah, Jose, you could just switch over to the
I don't know if he can. Let's see.
computer screen
We're
here.
having some technical problems with the switching.
I think the switching's working fine. I think
Okay.
our in-studio monitors
Oh, that's fine. I can handle that.
are completely messed up.
It
because we can't actually see ourselves.
wouldn't be fun if it was easy,
Yeah, so this is a, what to wear and kind of going over the basics of, base layers and mid layers. Also kind of my strategy on how I can pack for a week-long trip in a very compact way.
Yeah.
All this stuff. And then I give towards the end, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of details here. Very specific recommendations. What I would take to, let's say, we talked about New England. So this is New England in October. And this is Iceland in August. And this is Iceland in February. So just very different kind of scenarios for different environments, but it's mostly the same pieces. And you can mix and match, and that's what I do. Depending on where I'm going, I have a core set of items, of gear, and then I just add or subtract things based on if it's colder or warmer or wetter or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I know this is not obviously camera related, so why am I spending so much time talking about clothes that
Yeah.
we clearly...
Because if you freeze to death, you can't take any pictures.
Because the idea is to not have to worry about your comfort when you're standing in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and you're waiting for that epic sunrise. And the last thing you should be doing is wondering how you're going to survive.
Yeah.
You know, so being comfortable means that you can focus less on your discomfort and more on your photography. And making, you know, having the right gear, just like having the right lens, having the right filters, having the right tripod, having the right set of clothing that you can use, this is going to last you for years and just enable you to be a lot happier in your photography.
Yeah, I think to sum that up and get to the next question.
Yep.
When you're at the mercy of your environment, which is what really landscape photography is all about, you want to be as in control as you can.
Sure.
So that the things that are out of your control don't affect the pictures. Because that's in the end, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Is to make good pictures. I mean, as silly as that sounds, the goal is to make pictures. So everything that David has crafted in terms of his clothing strategies and packing strategies and all that stuff is all designed to make your pictures better in the end.
Yeah.
It's as circuitous of a route that
Yeah.
So
I think that's right.
yeah. Let's get to the next question.
And as we say, to hit that,
Yes.
is just to end on a quote, which I think I lead off on the article, is
Yes.
sometimes the worst weather makes for the best pictures.
It's
okay?
true.
So dress accordingly.
All right. Let's go off clothes and maybe back towards Leica gear for a moment.
Let's take a more camera lens
before we get
related
Jose
question.
in there, is there anything in the chat? Because I feel like we've neglected the chat for a while.
Let me take a look here.
Let's poke around because I want to see what the people are saying.
There's a
my
lot of
goodness.
chats.
All kinds of good stuff.
Where to go in flat terrain, Florida for landscape photography?
Well, you need to look at Paul Marcellini.
Paul Marcellini.
Paul Marcellini is an Everglades. Well, he's a Florida-based photographer who's really known for his work in the Everglades and the Keys, and his work is incredible. I don't know if Kirsten, you can drop a link to his website in the chat, but if you want inspiration, you can hire him as a guide, and he'll actually take you around the Everglades to all the best spots, and essentially I've gone with him and I've done this, and he's led a workshop for us. You'll make amazing pictures that you never thought you could have made. So it's possible. I mean, you look at his work and you go, oh yeah, there's some beautiful stuff in Florida. Sure, you have to navigate through 6 feet of water with alligators, but you know. What other questions we got? Let's see.
Okay, let me go down. Oh
my goodness.
Yep. So Laura says, this is not a question, it's just a comment. I took a spill with the SL2 and buried it in the snow. Been there, done that, by the way. I have also done that. Cleaned it up, went on shooting, not even a scratch. It's true. I agree.
What did Mauricio say? David, what is that going to do?
Let's see. Does elevation and barometric pressure have any effect on cameras and lenses? I mean, you probably know the answer to that.
I mean, not that I've experienced. I mean, there's certainly a operating range for this equipment, but
I've yet to experience it.
Right, in any environment where you're going to be comfortable or be able to survive, the camera's going to be fine.
Yeah. I shot with the SL2 last year in Colorado in preparation for our next year's fall foliage workshop, and I was at 12,000 feet.
Yeah, and you were fine.
I mean, well, the camera was fine.
Yeah, you were fine.
I was
But the camera was fine.
Sea level guy right here.
I do want to get to Mauricio's question. I know it's kind of a big one, but I'm going to ask it anyway because right in the heart of the show. So Mauricio says, David, what is the criteria for you to, I say, choose between the S system or the SL system for landscape photography?
Honestly, it's really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough because they're both so capable. I would say I think about where I'm going and what I'm going to be shooting. And conditions do come into play because both of them are built like tanks. Both of them I've put through the ringer, been there, done that. I'm not worried about durability.
Yeah.
But there's something really nice about, let's say, on the SL2, being able to use a 16 to 35, a 24 to 90, and a 90 to 280, and that's it. Like just 3 lenses, 3 zooms, done. I'm covering everything from 16 millimeter to 280 millimeter, in a really easy to use compact package.
Yeah, I mean, we got the close up now. You can see. I mean, that's 3 S lenses that you would need to cover not even the range that one lens offers. So that's SL2. So I think
that's the advantage for the SL2.
Yes.
Also, what you see is what you get. The EVF makes for really easy composition, live exposure, color, all that. Cameras really really easy to use, but offers a ton of features. Now, for the real purist experience, though, I keep coming back to the S system because it's incredible. Yes, the camera is very tanky. It's certainly a little bigger, and you can use the zoom. So there is a zoom here.
Right here. Got it?
Yep. This is a 30 to 90 zoom, which is going to be equivalent. I'm going to put these lenses right next to each other. And
There we go. Got the
not
crossover.
100% sure that's in focus because I'm... Okay. How we look, Jose? Is that in focus there? Yep. Okay. So we've got a 30 to 90 S lens here, which covers an equivalent, because there's a lens factor of 0.8x. Okay, so you got to go wider. So this is going to be if it's 30, that's a 24 to 90, which is about a 70. So it's like a 24 to 70, okay?
Yep.
And here we've got an SL 24 to 90, which is, 24 to 90. So really, when you look at that, I mean, the S lens is slightly smaller, actually, than the SL lens, which is interesting.
Heavier.
It is a fair amount heavier. There's a lot of glass in here because it's got a larger frame to cover. The frame size is 60% larger than full frame, okay? So it's very different. But personally, I have been a real big fan of using the prime lenses. And for me, as good as the SL lenses are, and the SL lenses, the zooms are as good or better than prime lenses. They're fantastic. But there's something about the S lenses that's just magical because they, have that technical perfection, but also kind of that magic of M lenses.
And I
too.
think it's important to say this is just really the S lenses with the S sensor. Because you can use S lenses on an SL2.
Right.
What David's talking about
The
is
combination, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Carry on.
And I'd say the number one thing for me of why I like the S system, lenses, yes, they're incredible. Some of my favorites are, say, the 24, the 45, the 120 macro are just incredible, amazing, lovely, gorgeous lenses. But the camera's just no nonsense. It's like back to basics.
Yeah.
You don't have a whole lot of stuff happening on the back here. And it's an optical viewfinder. You're looking through, it's nice and clear. It's a very unencumbered experience. And there's very few features. It doesn't do a lot.
Yeah.
It's just real. It
It does have GPS, which the SL2 does not have, at least
that's
not
true.
in camera.
GPS right there.
Something to keep in mind.
But what it does, the magic is inside, which is behind that mirror there, because it is an SLR. The magic is the sensor. So the sensor technology in the S is definitely a step above where the SL is. On the S007, it's 37.5 megapixel, but with 15.5 stops of dynamic range. The S3 is 64 megapixels, also with 15 plus stops of dynamic range. But they're essentially the same body. And I think for a lot of people, like an S007, it's the same camera, just with slightly less resolution, but not much less than an SL2. Honestly, that's been my favorite all-around landscape camera is the S007.
I would say that in a scenario where the objective is the highest level of image quality, and that's it, right? Let's forget about all other variables for the time being. The 007 or the S3, depending on what you've got, is the way to go. Obviously, there's a lot of things the SL2 can do that the 007 cannot do. It's got EVF, it's got sensor-based stabilization, and it's super fast.
Yep.
But if you're out doing landscape photography, and that is your objective, the files that the 007 puts out,
Oh, incredible.
and then by definition the S3, we just have a lot more experience with the 007 because the S3 is so new. They're incredibly malleable in Lightroom. The dynamic range and the micro contrast is insane. SL2 is a great camera.
It is.
The versatility that it offers, if you want to go from landscape to walking around a village to shooting birds.
Wildlife, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. But if you're going out with landscape photography in mind, there's something... I mean, I've shot a lot with the 007. I've taken it to car shows, and I've used it as a point and shoot, like a walk-around camera, because what it puts out is insane. And to me, looking at the prices now, where a 007 is the same, a pre-owned 007 is like the same price as the new SL2.
That's incredible, actually.
Which is, I mean,
my
that's
kind of
the
mind
nature of
blowing, yeah.
depreciation, which is, if you are looking to get into this, something like that,
Yeah.
it works great. It's now kind of a hard choice between the two, depending on your objectives and depending on what you currently have and what you want to do. But if you're a hardcore landscape shooter or a dynamic range image quality nut, but you don't want to spend the $18,995 that an S3 is, I don't know, man.
And I'm going to say, I had shot with the S2. I shot with the S006. Great cameras. Those were CCD-based cameras, but they really had a bit more limited dynamic range, like 12 and a half stops. Image quality under the right circumstances were phenomenal. And still, I talked about this in our after capture episode because in order to create Lightroom presets, I went back to some of those S2 files from 10 years ago, and I reprocessed them with the new updated Lightroom algorithms, and I was blown away by how good they were.
Yeah.
I mean, blown away.
Yeah.
But when I moved to the 007, it was a game changer for me because I was basically able to do single shot HDR.
Yeah.
I could walk up to a high contrast scene, very difficult lighting, one picture, just exposed for the highlights. And I mean, I had stuff, 3-4 stops in the shadows, just pulled it up like magic. And something that I think is missed if you haven't worked on S files, compared to even the SL2 or the M10, the real magic is I can only go so far in Lightroom with the sliders, let's say with the highlight and shadow sliders in Lightroom, to past a certain point, 75%, let's say, the files just look artificial. They'd start looking like HDR. But the S files, I can go minus 100 highlight.
I've seen it.
Plus 100 shadow, and it's real. It just looks normal. It's amazing.
Yeah. If you've not ever had the chance to play with an S file, just email us and we'll send you a DNG if you want.
It's pretty incredible.
Because it's something else.
Yeah.
And when I go back and I try to find an old car photo and I don't want to wax too poetically about it, but I feel like it doesn't get as much love. And when it was $16,000, it was a lot harder for me to make it seem as universally useful as it is now that it's $59.95 or whatever the heck they sell for. So yeah, that's a bit of a love poem to the S system. So I guess, Mauricio, to circle back to your question, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but that's because this is a big one.
It is.
Is if you want the flexibility, the speed, and the versatility of our sound ending falling.
With the dog.
Right onto the dog. I'm sorry, buddy, come here. If you want the flexibility, versatility, and the speed, and you're going to be shooting more than just landscape tripod mounted shots, SL2. SL2 is amazing. But if you're out there and you got your tripod and you got your cable release and you're like landscape and you got your filters, don't discount the 007 because it actually is quite powerful.
Well, that's certainly not.
Yeah, where did that sound ending go? Our studio is literally falling apart. Yeah, I feel guys really knew how much time David and Jose spent to get the software working right, but now all the hardware is coming literally crashing down around us. If you get a chance, Jose, can you move that thing out of the way so my dog can have a place to sleep? My dog is running out of places to sleep right now.
Come on.
Come in.
Come in.
Let's come in. It's okay.
You're good. You're fine.
We're very professional.
Hey, look, it's Jose.
Hey, that's all you ever get to see of Jose.
And then turn around, Jose.
Wait, what? Don't embarrass him like that. One day, we threatening the Jose, we're going to put a camera on him, with the Jose cam. So just you wait. Come here, buddy. Let's see if we can say hi. Hi, come here. I don't know if you can see him. His head is like, oh, there's a little doggy head. There he is. He's just grumpy because he got woken up. Okay, let's go to the next question because we're getting into a serious ramble fest right now. Let me see what I got. Can I know? That's here now. I'm just looking at. Let's talk about filters. You want to talk about filters now, David?
I like filters.
Filtration, if you will, is a really, really critical part of landscape photography. I don't mean filters in Photoshop. I mean filters on your camera. Pieces of glass that go in between the front of your lens and your scene.
Well,
And-
that is like the most basic definition of a filter.
That's what it is. I just want to clarify what we're talking about here. So, over the years, we have tried a ton of different systems, and our loyalties have changed
Yes.
as we have found better tools,
Yes.
as the technology has improved, as more manufacturers have stepped up to offer. So, for a long time, what were you using? What was your gold standard? Just so we can get a little backstory, I think.
Sure. I mean, way back when, long time ago,
In a galaxy far away.
in a galaxy far away, I had used my introduction to square filter system, in other words, or rectangular filter system, 4-inch filters, was with. Actually, I'm not going to name brands because I don't want to badmouth anything, but
a different brand that we're going to
a different brand. They were resin filters, which are basically a fancy word for plastic. And that ended very quickly because I was shooting up in the mountains in Tennessee, trying to frantically shoot a sunrise, and it's okay. I actually don't think you can hear it now with
the
noise
dog
right now.
drinking? Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
And so basically, I was working with the filters, but it was really dry at high elevation. We were at Klingman's Dome, which is, I think, at 6,000 feet or something. So it was really dry, and I was just getting dust just sticking to these filters because of the static charge when I pulled them out of the case like this, right? It wasn't this case, but, they're made of synthetic materials. So you pull this plastic filter out of a synthetic case, it gets a static charge on it. So I got my lens cloth out, I start wiping it, and it just makes it worse. And then I started getting scuffs because it's soft, not coated, it's not glass, it's plastic. And then shooting into the sunrise, it just diffracted all over the place. And it's like, you know what? I think it's now time to look for glass filters.
Yeah.
So that led me to my migration to Schneider glass filters. And Schneider is a division of B&W, or B&W is a division of Schneider.
I don't know. I mean, call it the politics.
Tomato.
Yeah, but they're in.
Okay.
Chilling.
And it's what I've been using for a long time. I even wrote a whole article about essential filters for landscape photography, all talking about B&W and Schneider filters, which is what I used for the better part of 10 years.
Yes.
And I've definitely had my fair share that have been smashed to smithereens by only my own fault.
I've seen them. Pretty bad.
Pretty bad. So I can tell you what they sound like when they hit a rock at really high speed. It's pretty gut wrenching actually. So I have since, but with those, good German shot optical glass, and great quality, very thick. I actually didn't bring any in the room here, but they're 4 millimeters thick, very heavy, and as we always like to say, always choose the heavier one because it's usually better, right?
If it's heavier, it's got to be better.
It's got to be better.
That's my rule.
And they've been pretty durable. I mean, even in my, in my shell, I've got these huge pockets that I'll usually just take the glass filter and just put it in my pocket, or sometimes two of them with my gloves and some other junk too.
Yeah.
Because, my whole thing is I'm trying to work quickly. That's why I don't use lens caps, front or rear, when I'm out in the field, because I need to change lenses quickly to catch the moment. With filters, I'm usually just trying to grab the filters. I'll have a polarizer in a pocket.
I've seen it. It's
And
terrible.
I'm not exaggerating. I just have everything everywhere because I really am trying to work as quickly as possible without having to dig through my bag and find this and find that, and that cloud is gone that's just hanging perfectly. So it's all about those moments. But the challenge I've had with Schneider over the years is the color transmission and the color accuracy. They tried to address some of this with their IR and D filters, which is infrared filtration. Because what happens on digital is if you start adding a lot of neutral density, cutting the exposure down, the visible light gets blocked, but infrared can still get through. And the sensors are sensitive to near infrared light. So you start getting these kind of magenta red casts on everything. And it's really difficult to remove, and it's also limiting the actual color response of the sensor. And it's just something that I've struggled with and tried to work around. And I did some research, and now I have shifted. I'm about 75% transitioned to a company called Breakthrough Photography. And Actually, it was before I took the SL2 out to the West Coast when I did my testing. I said, you know what? New camera, new test, time for a fresh start with filters. I've heard great things. I'm just going to go whole hog. And I ordered a whole set of filters for myself, all different, like 6, 10, 15 stop ND, polarizer, the works. Because, listen, this is how I'm able to learn and how I'm able to give information is I just dive in and try it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And
we buy stuff like just at retail. Like we just like, this looks interesting, we'll just buy this. And then if we like it.
I mean, I literally just bought a gimbal that's sitting in a plastic in the plastic wrap on my desk that I'm going to try it and let you know if it works for the SL2.
Yeah.
So basically with Breakthrough, I just went all in and I was extremely pleased with how color neutral these were. They lived up to my expectation. They are also made of shot German optical glass, but they're made here in the United States. And I've had the pleasure, actually over the last few weeks, I've been having conversations with Graham. He's the founder and the owner of Breakthrough. And he is an accomplished landscape photographer himself that has used all of these other brands. And he actually goes in and he shared with me all this testing data, comparing all of, Schneider, B&W, Hoya, Tiffin, Heliopan, everything, and basically the Breakthrough really is the most color neutral, both for their ND as well as their circular polarizer. And interestingly, their polarizer is like 99% light transmissive efficiency, but it only blocks one stop of light, which is pretty cool instead of the normal 1.5 to 2.
Right. Just to be clear, with a circular polarizer, the goal is always to have the least amount of light being blocked as possible. Right. You don't that if you want to block light, you use a neutral density, or you use a combo neutral density polarizer that Breakthrough makes called a dark polarizer. But,
yeah, I've got one right here.
Yeah. So carry on. Sorry.
Okay. So you can get a little close up here. This is another cool little thing that has led for me to be less haphazard about my filters. So I don't know if you're getting close up or not because I can't actually tell. Okay. This is a Mind Shift, and it's the Filter Nest Mini. And it's pretty cool. It holds 4 filters, and it has some color coding here. And these are all Breakthrough filters, and they're made really nicely. And they stick just a little bit. Okay, there we go.
Try to be gentle.
Yeah.
For once.
So these are, what I like is they're German optical glass. They're 16 times multi-resin coated with a nano coating finish as well. They're really easy to clean. They don't scratch very easily. And they're, like I said, they're really color neutral. What's really fascinating is, the films they use are actually different colors. Let me catch the light, see if I can see that. Really trying harder. I can't get both to reflect. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so you can just see that this one here is kind of yellowy. This one's kind of red. And if I read them, this one's a 10 stop here. And this one is a 6 stop. So what's interesting is they have different kind of coatings to account for the different kind of visible light transmission, which is pretty neat. So not just using the same film at different densities. They're pretty cool. They're really nice.
I think
really nice filters.
A really important sort of summary point that I just want to hop on.
Yeah, sure.
Is that at the moment, David and I have found that the Breakthrough Photography filters, both their circular filters and their square and rectangular filters, are the highest quality available.
Yes.
For Leica shooters with regard to sharpness, light transmission, color cast or lack thereof. I switched from a B&W polarizer to a Leica polarizer to a Breakthrough polarizer.
Yes.
So I have all 3 in my.
What did you find?
And I found that the Breakthrough polarizer definitely let the most light in, which for me doing handheld stuff, because I use it for cars, of course, right, and watches. So that reduced my light loss, allowing me to have the faster shutter speed I needed for shooting in the ambient environment. I also found the action was really pleasant of the polarizing. When you turn the polarizing filter, that's something that you don't really think about. It's just like, is the glass good? Well, what about if you actually have to use this thing? How does the action feel? Is it too loose? Is it too tight? So I found the action of the breakthrough polarizers to be really, really good. So that's what I'm using now. I've swiped one. I have a 67 and an 82 that I just pulled because I use them. I use them on the SL primes and the 75 Noctilux. I got the 67 for that. And I have an 82 for all of the S lenses and the SL primes. So.
Yeah, what I will say, what's really nice about the SL system is that the 3 zooms all have 82 millimeter threads.
Yeah.
Which means you can use the same filter across everything.
Yeah. Show them the. There we go.
Yeah. So this is pretty cool. Okay. So this is the X100 holder for breakthrough.
So this is just to back up conceptually. This is designed for square or rectangular filters that go in front of your lens. So they're not circular screw-on filters. These are really for landscape photography, either for solid neutral density or graduated neutral density. I just want to preface that if you've not seen this kind of system before, David is now going to show you.
Okay, so you get different rings which fit different size lenses.
So this, I'm gonna narrate a little bit while you.
Sure.
This is how your individual lenses interface with the filter holder. Because the filter holder itself is not threaded, they make adapter rings that are in numerous thread size for your different lenses. And you get an adapter ring for each lens, and then David will now show you how the filter holder itself actually mounts to the adapter ring.
Right. And these things
that's very precarious.
It is. These things all come in nice cases and all that. And, here. All right. So we're going to get back to our close-up camera in a second.
Give it a second here. There we go.
Okay. So this is the holder, and it's got some kind of, let's see if we can get a little closer, Jose, or not. Let's see. There we go. A little bit. Nice. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So on the back side, we've got a little spring action lever here, plus a little screw doohickey. That is a technical term. Don't get too scared. And I'll basically hook that. I should probably show it from the back.
Yeah, we're like doing this backwards upon backwards.
Okay,
here, so.
Right there. And then I'm just going to tighten this little knobby thing down there. Okay.
There we go.
And, that crunch, by the way, was sand from the last shoot.
Oh my gosh, there's so much sand in there.
Okay.
You hose on the camera, but not your filter holder.
You know what? There's actually some salt residue on the front of this.
That's proof that you weren't messing around when you said you were out in the
nope.
beach.
So it looks like that, and it's not going to block anything.
Right. There's no vignetting. There's no...
Nope.
Nothing. I'm not
okay, now this is I'm going to put that down just for a second. Okay, this is a standard square ND.
So that is a solid neutral density. Now you could get a circular threaded neutral density filter, which David uses, but you'll see in a second why the solid filter is so handy.
Right,
so.
and this one's really cool. Breakthrough is really kind of on the game here. So this is a black foam lining all the way around, which seals this against light leak. Because one of the biggest issues that you'll have with a square filter system that doesn't have that is that light can actually go between the filter and the holder and bleed in, and you'll get some off-color and light spots. And then all this does is it slides into the holder. Okay, there we go. Oh, yeah, that sounds awful, by the way. Okay, and it just slides down like so. I want to make sure that, there we go. Okay, so that's going to be an ND on there.
How many stops is this one again?
This one's a 6 stop.
All right, so now we've got 6 stops of neutral density. Mm-hmm. So now we're reducing the amount of light that's hitting our sensor by 6 stops.
Right.
What's next?
But let's say, and this is kind of a cool one. So this, let me just move that over. I don't know. Actually, know we're in focus. There we go.
You're going to put it like a light background.
Yeah. Oh, there
we go.
Oh, you can take it away. I'm going to have the reflection.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
So this is kind of a cool one. This is called a 3-stop hard edge reverse. So it's kind of 2 filters in one. Yeah, it is hard to see, isn't it? There we go. No, just when I angle it, it's fine.
Got it? Okay.
So it's going to be clear on this part here, the bottom. You've got a hard edge and then a 3-stop ND, and then it's graduated gently to clear again. Why in the world would you need this? Because what do you think, what if I want to shoot a sunrise and the sun is going to be coming up about here? I want my foreground to be light, but I want to darken the sky, but not all the, let's say all the high clouds. I want to still get detail there without darkening them. Mm-hmm. So this darkens just the sun. This is kind of only really, it's specialized. It's really for just sunrise and sunset. And like at the very moment of sunrise and sunset,
Yeah.
as the sun peeks through, it's murder to shoot, and this makes a difference.
And you might say, just to jump in, why not do that in post? Well, the very reason is because of how
Fleeting.
fast and how fleeting that light is. You may only have a chance to get 2 or 3 shots when the light is perfect,
Maybe
if you're lucky.
2 shots.
So a filter like this will allow you to get the shot with all of the dynamic range, all the tones
Yep.
preserved, without having to try to do multiple HDR bracketing nonsense and
Exactly.
you've lost the moment.
Right. So here, what I can do is you just drag it, looking through the viewfinder, you're able to go up and down to match that horizon perfectly. If you want to go vertical, you would just basically turn the holder 90 degrees. I know
So
that.
this is, just to sort of narrate again, that's why you use the holder and not a circular filter, because using the rectangular filter in these grooves allows you to slide them up and down, mount them upside down anywhere you want, rotate them, so you have total control over where the gradation is,
Correct.
where the darkening and lightening is happening. If you just had a circular filter with a dark half at the bottom, on the light
Yeah,
bottom,
it wouldn't work very well.
it wouldn't work because you'd be forced
Right.
for a very specific composition, and that's it.
Now, I'll say there's another advantage as well. So it's a little bit less of an issue with, let's say, an EVF camera like the SL2 that can auto gain the viewfinder.
Yeah.
If you're looking through an optical viewfinder like the S camera, if I put on a 15 stop ND filter, you're not going to see anything through it in the viewfinder.
Yeah.
So having to screw on and unscrew a circular filter can be a little bit onerous.
Yeah.
What's really cool about this is you can just grab the quick release here, shoot in terms of compose, you get your focus, your composition, everything lined up the way you want it. And then when you want to get your ND on there for a long exposure or the graduated effect, you can just put that on and you're good to go, right? So you have that ability to switch back and forth between no filter and filter very quickly.
Yeah, it's fast and it's flexible, and you can easily swap in different strengths. You can combine. You have both on there now, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have
So
both.
you can see David has both filters. So he has the solid neutral density because there's 2 slots.
Yep,
The solid
I'm just
and
gonna
he
slide
has
one out here.
and he has the graduated filter on at the same time, which is another advantage of using a filter holder. So if you are shooting landscape, and of course you've got to be in a tripod. So if you're shooting tripod mounted landscape or even some outdoor architectural type of work, you pretty much have to have a kit like this because it will allow you to capture the full range of the scene. Even with a camera like the S007 or the S3, which has insane dynamic range, the real world can be 30 stops. If you're in a crazy speculator scenario.
Well, and there really is no post-processing substitute for neutral density,
Right.
because the only way you're going to get a blurred waterfall or cotton candy, Oregon coast
Yeah.
is making less light come into the camera.
Yeah.
This is sunglasses for your camera. So you're going to drop your exposure, and that's what I love. Also, Breakthrough is one of the few companies that has an actual color neutral 15 stops ND, both in square as well as circular. And they come all the way down. I know we're not talking about it today, but they go all the way down to 39 millimeter filter size for Leica M, to be able to come in those sizes. Or if you use a Q, they make 49s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's a little bit more flexibility. Maybe if you're shooting a small camera, you wouldn't want a big holder. But really
Right. We're talking about
cameras,
SL and S.
Yeah.
This is right. This is not going to work on an M. We'll talk about the solutions for that in 2 weeks. But
Yeah. And something else that I like that's different about the Schneiders. So these are much thinner. These are 2 millimeters, but they're made of tempered glass. So these are actually more durable, more scratch resistant, and I haven't put it to the test yet, but less shatterproof. They're more shatterproof than
find
my
out.
Schneiders.
yeah.
So a big fan of these.
Let's see if there's any questions in the chat about what we've talked about.
Yeah, hopefully
we talked about this a lot. Like we've spent a lot on it. I just want to see if there's any questions before we go to the next
Let's
topic.
see here.
I used the Breakthrough on my SL2. Nice.
Great, very happy with it.
Breakthrough
I use
for
Breakthrough
nice
ND.
Nice.
Oh, the
nice.
night sky. I want to talk about that.
Okay.
You have that over there.
Which one is it? This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now this is, I'm going to be honest, the guys at Breakthrough, after I was like, I love it. I'm using the ND, I'm using the grads, I'm using everything. I'm using the polarizers. It's fantastic. They said, we want to send you this night sky filter. I was like, I don't really need that.
Yeah, it sounds gimmicky.
That's
almost.
super gimmicky.
Yeah.
I don't need night sky. Well, it wasn't until, and I've had this literally sitting on my desk for, I don't know, at least 6 months, okay? Just to be straight up. This has been sitting on my desk for 6 months. And it wasn't until I spoke to Graham and I said, and he asked me about it again. I was like, listen, I haven't used it because I'm not really into like night sky
Right.
or
Effect
whatever
filters,
effect
right,
filters
right.
because it's digital. I don't need that. I can do it. He's like, no, that's not what it's for. I think we're confusing it. He's like, you're doing landscape, right? I said, yes. He said, well, you ever shoot aspens in Colorado? I said, as a matter of fact, I did just last fall.
Yes, I have.
Now, they're actually based in Denver, Colorado, even though it says San Francisco, but they're currently in Denver. And he sent me a photo of, I think it's just an iPhone photo of holding this filter up. And if you can see, it's got a little bit of a kind of a bluish tinge to it. And it doesn't block any amount of light. It has 100% light transmission, no light loss. And what it's really designed to do, especially for fall foliage, I would call this a fall foliage filter.
Okay.
Because when you have trees that are all like kind of seems like a uniform shades of yellow and orange, what this does, the filter actually separates out and sort of expands the tonal range, the color range, color representation of those yellows and oranges into more delineated yellows and oranges through the tonal range.
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't make more colors. It just allows the sensor to see the very subtle gradation of color.
Pretty cool.
So it's a
I
fall
want one.
foliage filter.
I want to try one.
Yeah, so it's called a night
I want to steal
sky,
yours.
which is very confusing.
Yeah.
It's really a fall foliage filter. So this one's kind of cool. And the only other one I want to talk about is the dark polarizer.
Do we have one?
I should have one here.
I'm dropping stuff. I'm pulling a U.
You're pulling a me?
This is not a dark polarizer, I don't think, right? This is my 82.
Do I have it in here? Maybe. Sorry, it might be here, it might not be.
No, that's okay. We can talk about it even if
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. It should be in here, but it's not.
That's okay.
Okay, so what's traditionally what we kind of left out about the filter system is that usually you'd put a circular polarizer onto your lens, and then you would mount the adapter onto the threads of your polarizer. Then you would do your grad, and then you would do your ND. Now, what's really cool about Breakthrough is they have 3 and 6 stop dark polarizers.
Okay.
So basically, it's a circular polarizer that you operate normally, single piece of glass, it looks like that, except it has 3 or 6 stop ND also built into the same filter. Less glass, and more ability to then stack on top of it.
Right. That's the key here. Is because you're combining two filters into one, you're reducing the amount of glass in between your scene and the lens, which is always ideal. And
with the ability to stack other filters.
Yes, exactly. Because we don't want to have 3 or 4 if we can have 2.
Right.
That's usually the goal.
Yeah.
So the dark polarizers are awesome. I would always have one like a 3 or 6 stop in an 82 in my bag if I'm out in the field doing landscape. Even if I have the solid NDs, I'm probably still going to have a dark polarizer, especially if you just want to keep the 3 stop on there.
Yeah.
And then have a 6 stop solid, which you can pop on for that extra bit if you need it, depending on your lighting.
I think you need to explain that.
Yes.
So when we stack filters,
Yes.
how does the stops work? So if I take, and I've got a 3 stop ND in my polarizer,
Yes.
and I add a 6 stop solid ND, how many stops of filtration do I have now?
9.
Okay, so it's just,
You made it sound like it was a trick question. I'm like, wait.
if a train leaves Chicago.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Okay, but this is a really important point that I want to hit home because stops of light is very basic term in photography. When we talk about an f-stop or the difference in shutter speed, it's exactly double or half the amount of light. So a 6-stop ND is going to reduce your exposure by 6 stops, meaning that's, let's say, 2, 4, 8, 16, or right? And what do we have to? Wait.
11.
Wait. No.
We
2,
are
4,
literally the worst. We are the worst.
So half, quarter, eighth, 16th, 32nd, right? What? Oh, one more. 64th. So you're allowing in 1/64th the amount of light.
Yes.
which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yes.
And then if you go 9, well, go 3 more than that.
Yeah, 128, 256,
512.
512.
Yeah. So you're letting in 1/500th the amount of light
Yeah. Yes.
at 9 stops.
So it's dramatically 9 stops of ND is like a lot.
Right.
Yes,
And keep in mind, I have in here, I've got a 10 stop and a 15 stop.
Yeah. But if you're in a really bright environment, if it's a beach setting or even just a stream that doesn't have a lot of tree cover, you'll need 15 stops if you want to get a 1 or 2 second shutter speed to slow down the water to get that kind of like cotton candy look. So, okay, what do we got for? We talk so much about filters. I feel like we are not paying attention to what people are asking us. Let's see.
No, hopefully you guys are enjoying the primer on filters, but
Oh, that's a quick question
do we
that
got?
we can ask real quick, just to keep the flow going.
here, this one?
Well, yeah, I'll ask you that
Yeah.
one, and then you ask me Jim's question.
Okay.
So Mohammed asks, hello, does stacking filters decrease overall image quality, such as a circular polarizer and a graduated filter together?
Anytime you put additional pieces of glass, you are going to experience some small amount of image degradation.
Yes.
When you're using the highest quality optical glass that's multi-coated, that has the highest quality, filtration films and all that, the loss is negligible.
Right.
I guess I would rather have, kind of to your point that you always make,
Yes.
that you'd rather have a slightly noisy image
Yes.
than a blurry one, right?
Yes,
So we're
yes.
talking about high ISO.
Yeah.
But talking about, let's put that in terms of filtration. I'd rather have the exact image that I want in camera than have a slightly better, not good image.
I mean, the difference is so negligible that I don't think you would notice
Cutting,
it.
no.
I don't. You almost dropped that one. I don't think it's a scenario where you'd with if you stacked like 5, you might notice a difference, but no.
The simple answer is no. You're not going to notice it up to, let's say, 3 pieces of glass. How's that?
Ask me Jim's question. At the bottom.
Is there a difference or advantage to using a remote trigger versus a 2-second delay on the SL2?
Yes. Well, here's the thing that I think people don't think about is, let's say I'm photographing a waterfall or something that has motion, but I'm on a tripod. It's hard to capture a particular moment in time. Maybe a cloud is moving or a bird or whatever, if you're relying on a 2-second delay. Whereas with a cable release, I can have the cable release in my hand. I kind of have my other arm behind my back, and I'm looking through the viewfinder.
I think we
Waiting-
randomly went to a slideshow here.
Oh, sweet. Nice picture. There we go.
Thank you. Okay.
And we're trying. And I'm looking through the viewfinder with the remote release in my hand. So I'm not touching the camera. I'm not introducing any vibration. And when I get that moment I want to shoot, I can click on the cable release and I get the shot immediately.
Right.
If you're shooting a static subject, it's not really there's no real advantage.
Yeah.
Unless it's
Yeah.
you really whack the camera hard and 2 seconds isn't enough.
I'll tell you, the big difference for me between a remote release and the 2-second self-timer is that I never forget the 2-second self-timer at home.
Okay, so you're the guy. Oh, wait a minute. An hour ago, you said this is about bringing everything.
Yeah.
So I think if you have an SL2 or an S, you should have a cable release.
Yeah.
Okay, if you forget it, you've got the 2-second self-timer to fall back on. But I personally use a cable release way more than the self-timer because I just like to know exactly when the photo is going to be taken versus having to wait because I'm also not patient. What else we got questions-wise? Anything good?
Let's see.
We have plenty to say. I just don't want to miss anything in the shoobity-doobity here.
Breakthrough filter. Yes, people.
You want to address Kelly's concern over there because it's.
Yes, Kelly's.
Let me.
yeah.
I'll ask you about it. So Kelly says this is a valid point. On the M glass, even though that's 2 weeks from now, the breakthrough polarizers have a thick rim that blocks using the lens shades for now.
Yeah, and part of my conversation with Breakthrough, they are fully aware of that, and actually, I will be sending them a few of the 46 millimeter Leica M lenses, so that they can. And they said, "Look, just send it our way. We'll measure it. We'll prototype it and send it back to you in a few days, and we're gonna fix this."
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the Breakthrough website, it says 46 millimeter parentheses Leica. So they're very much making Leica specific sizes.
Yeah.
And they're well aware that it's just a little bit too thick, and they are absolutely ready and willing to change those dimensions. this is a great company in terms of how responsive they are
Mm-hmm.
and how open they are to just constantly improving their product.
Yeah. So
yes,
it will be fixed. I guess they just
It'll
didn't
be
realize it.
it'll be fixed as soon as we pack some stuff
So
up.
it'll
and send it
happen
up.
probably next year. But yeah.
Other David says,
Yeah. Thanks, David, for telling me about the breakthrough filters. They are night and day compared to the Schneider. I've been able to take 60-second exposures and the color still holds.
Yes.
That is legit. That's a long exposure
Yes.
for. And David Noble, you should drop a link to your website in the chat. You definitely have our permission to do so. Your work is fantastic. David's been shooting amazing images with his S system
Long
and his
exposure
SL2
landscapes.
for a long time. So shout out to you, David. We appreciate you and your awesome pictures. Okay, what else we got?
hot or cold temperatures? We kind of talked about that
yeah,
before,
we talked about
but
that already. Keep going.
let's
I think we
see.
pretty much covered those questions for now.
Is the cable release weather sealed?
I mean, I don't think so, but honestly, I've used it in the rain and I've never had a problem with it. I may regret saying that later, but
I don't think it's not weather sealed, but it's
the port is weather sealed.
right. The Limo
The
connector
port
is.
that it goes in is weather sealed, but not. I don't know. I think the cable release itself is.
And yes, actually, Jahabar, that's correct. You can use the Photos app on your phone or an iPad as a remote release.
Yeah, it's just a little bit slower because you have to get the Wi-Fi initialized, but it does work.
It works great.
I mean, for me, the mechanical wired cable release is king, but you have the Photos app and you have the 2-second self timer as other options.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 different ways.
And I don't know if I have the iPad. No, I left the iPad over there.
That's okay.
The iPad actually is a really interesting tool in terms of landscape photography because so much of your work is actually on a tripod and it's, you're waiting for the thing to happen. I'd say that's landscape photography.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people standing behind a tripod, staring,
Yes.
keeping your feet warm and doing this business a lot, and just waiting. And hopefully if you're with somebody having a great conversation while you're both, freezing cold and waiting and waiting. And tired too, because you're usually up when it's dark.
Yes.
But the thing about the Photos app, which is cool, is you can remote control the camera. So you get a what you see is what you get view. It refreshes at 60 frames per second. And you can change all your settings and you can also trigger the camera. I would even be so bold to say that if you are in a really bitter cold scenario, because I have considered this, if it was so cold, but you're in a location where it's sort of like you've heard of car camping. You could do like car landscape photography. No, totally legit. Sitting in your car with the heat on and the heated seat, watching the iPad and being like, oh, sunrise, click, click.
You could do that.
Click.
Yeah. Because you can see the live view.
And you zoom right in.
Yeah.
You can change your exposure as you need it.
Yeah, that is true.
Click and fire away from the warmth of your vehicle.
I mean, yeah, that is true. You could do that. That is true. I think
Why wouldn't you do it?
you would do it free. I think you would get one picture and then you'd have to get out and you'd have to go outside anyway to get the camera. But yes, if it's that cold or if you get a spontaneous deep freeze,
I
do
think it was worth it.
I would be curious to know how many people who are watching this or have Leicas are using the Photos app. How many have not tried it but are curious about it? Because I've been trying to get David to do an episode about it with me at some point.
I know you have.
About the Photos app. So maybe in the future next year, we figure out a good way to demonstrate it on the different models if there's any interest in that. Because
Yeah.
it is pretty powerful.
It really is.
and
And
Leica
it's getting better.
Right. Leica is constantly improving it. Their team is growing in Germany of the people that are working on it. And if you have used it and you have issues, you can actually email them directly from the app.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly responsive and they actually do care if there's bugs or iOS compatibility problems. So
Yeah.
brief tangent there for a moment.
Well, I think, and there's another issue.
Yes.
I mean, as you guys saw, the Apple release like a month ago, there's new iPads.
Yeah.
And, they just keep getting faster with
Yeah.
this new Apple Silicon, where they're getting very good at image processing. So Leica can continue to add more features. Adobe can add more features to Lightroom Mobile. I mean, to where it's rivaling the desktop program. And having something that only weighs 1 pound, half a kilo for you, non-US people, it doesn't weigh that much, and you could actually put it into your camera bag, and you can go in the field with it, and it has long battery life.
Yeah.
And it really can be a really helpful tool out in the field.
Speaking of bags, we should talk about bags.
There's bags. We got some.
Just because
I brought a
think
lot.
You brought some. Well, I don't know if we're gonna have time to talk about all of them.
No, not all.
But I know that there have been some questions submitted ahead of time about. We're focusing on the S and the SL. That's what this episode's about, and landscape.
Put this away.
What are some of? I'm gonna give you 3. I'll allow you 3, like we did last episode. Your 3 sort of bag suggestions for landscape photography work with the SL or the S system. And to do that, you're gonna have to clean up a little bit.
I'm cleaning up.
These are big bags.
Housekeeping.
They take up a lot of space. But give us a second. I will do a little bit of cleaning up, and then we can get to some big old sweet bags. I got this. I got that. All right.
We're doing it.
All right, we got this. We got this. Just don't knock over the laptop.
Okay,
or
there
your
really
cable.
is a fair amount of sand here from our cameras, but
Oh my goodness. It's all you, bro. I wasn't there. I was sleeping.
yeah. Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about, just to preface again, about landscape bags for S and SL, and what is the first one we have today.
Let's get the logo.
I'm looking at the monitor here. Well,
Yeah,
give us
hold on
a
one
second. I'm just looking at our screen down below here to see how that looks. Well,
Let's
that barely fits on
Move
there.
some of those there.
Yeah, let me get these out of the way, guys, here. We can put some of these on the table.
Yeah.
Give us a sec. This is a bigger object than what we usually show on the show, so we have to
Okay.
reconfigure a few doodads to show it. So what are we looking at in
There
all
we
of
go.
its glorious giantness right now?
Now, oh, sorry, this one's actually opened. So this is my personal bag from, I'd say I've been using this for the last
3 years, right?
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So this has been, let's just say this one has been through the ringer.
What is it? Tell us what it is.
So this is a Mindshift by Think Tank. So it's a Think Tank Mindshift Professional 180 Rotation Deluxe or something like that. It's a lot of words.
Okay.
All the words. Basically, when marketing came up with it, they're like, professional, yes. Deluxe, yes.
Throw it all in there.
Rotation, yeah, do it.
What makes this bag so good?
So something that I look for in a photo bag, and I have been through probably more bags and backpacks than I've been through even of tripods, which is really saying something.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, again, comes back to like what I was saying with the clothing, right? It's comfort. And if you're worried about how uncomfortable you are, that really can impact how effective you can be at photography.
This is like our third presenter here. It's so big.
Yeah, it really is big. So, what are you doing on the show today?
That's right.
So, what I look for is, nice and comfortable straps. These are really cushy memory foam, a lot of adjustment, memory foam back here, and also really big lumbar support, really big waist belt. So the thing about these bags, they're built like hiking backpacks, which is to say, almost all the weight is actually sitting on your lumbar and hips. This is just for stability so it doesn't fall off your back going backwards, okay? And I think the backpacks that I can't stand are ones that just have shoulder straps and a little itty-bitty waist belt this size, okay? To keep it from falling off your waist, apparently.
Right.
But it doesn't put any weight on there. And shoulders, your shoulders are dying after you're walking in those things for too long. So I can carry in this bag, and I'm just going to show here, if I open it up.
Yeah, show them the actual gear
Now
compartment.
this one's a little messy.
Yeah, this is his actual bag that he uses when he goes to Iceland. And
Yeah,
stuff,
this is my actual bag. So this one's been kind of hollowed out for various things. It's got a compartment in the back here, and I can zip that up. But what I also like, and what's unique about the bag, besides the fact that it's super comfortable, and other hiking backpack features, the fact that I can put like a 1.5 liter hydration reservoir in it with a tube, which is nice for hiking. So it's like really hiking focused. Is this bottom part, when I'm wearing it, slides around.
Look at that parlor trick. That's why they call it the rotation, because it has
Exactly.
this rotating.
So now normally it would actually rotate around in this channel. Let's see if you can probably get a close up there, right? And I will show that.
Here we go. We got a close up.
Okay. And it opens away from you. And I'll just show here. Okay, so it's got, now how big is that? You can hand me the S camera and the 120 there.
I sure can.
To give you an idea of how the size is, and this is actually what I had it set up for, you can see that I can fit an entire S camera with a pretty hefty lens, and if you can hand me, say, 45.
I've got whatever this one is, 45. All right.
There you go. Okay. And I can fit a 45 in there. And you know what? Let's go for broke. Give me 70. Right in the front there.
There she is.
Okay, so I can take 70.
Wait, you got room for that in there too?
And I have room for that.
Look at that.
Okay,
Three S lenses and a body.
And a body,
Yeah.
just in the waist compartment. So what I'm able to do is essentially go out, have lenses that I'm not going to use as often in the backpack section. And obviously the camera's not going to be in here. The camera's going to be out. So often what I'll do is I'll have all the lenses that I plan on working with, or a set of filters in, let's say, this front section here that I've cordoned off. So I can have my filters there, and I can have 2 or 3 lenses that I'm working with, and it's right on my waist in front of me as I'm shooting. Now, I never have to take the bag off.
Yeah.
I've got the bag on the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm able to move around. I'm more nimble. I've got the camera on the tripod, and I'm able to swap between lenses, swap between filters, and then when I'm ready to go, I just zip this up, spin it around, and I'm back to just having a normal backpack.
It's easier to do when it's on your body.
It really is a lot easier
when it's
to
sitting
do.
on a table. Take the lenses out.
Yeah.
We're doing our best.
Okay,
We're
so
doing our best.
and then on
Here
the
we go. Here we go.
oh, I am gonna just toss this because you can actually just go out with this as its own bag.
Yeah.
Which I've done too.
Yeah.
If I'm just hopping out of the car and I'm not hiking, I can just take a couple
Oh,
lenses.
there's so much sand on this table.
There is a lot of sand. And then what I like on the front is I'm gonna just use my old thing here. And I really like. Stick it up. Oh, well, now it won't stand up
You wanna
straight.
hold it? I got
yeah,
it.
hold
I
it.
got it. I got it.
What I like is being able to just stash stuff right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can stash my shell, I can stash my down right there, and it doesn't interrupt anything on the inside of the bag. And then in the top section, right here,
Doing it back. There you go. You got it.
David, will that fit on an overhead compartment on a plane?
it actually does.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is about the same size.
I've traveled all over the world with this.
Yeah, about the same size as the 19
Yeah, and then
bag.
what I like in the top, I've got a huge compartment up here.
I can tilt it down a little bit. Kind of like,
And
there we go.
either in here, and then also I've got a whole stash compartment on top, and that's where I put my snacks.
Had to bring up the snacks. This man and his snacks.
Listen, I have a saying on workshops, which is ABS. Always be snacking, because that is another secret. Oh my gosh,
There's sand everywhere.
you guys
dude.
have no idea the amount of
This
sand.
is the sandiest studio I've ever seen.
All right,
Who's gonna vacuum this later? You are.
apparently
All
I
right,
am.
I'm gonna give you. You took so long in that bag. I'm gonna give you one more bag to show, and we can show more later.
Yeah.
But we're getting kind of late.
You know what?
It's almost 10. What do you want to see?
Let's do the green one here.
This guy? All right.
Yeah. Now
We gingerly
I'm gonna represent.
remove-
So my buddy Peter. Okay, Peter and I do a lot of workshops together, and Peter would roll his eyes with my bag, which, by the way, just to clarify, is 38 liters capacity.
Yeah.
Big, not the biggest. There's a 45 behind me here, but this is a. But in that bag, I can fit either a full SL kit or a full S kit
Yeah, in the 38 liter.
in the 38, and
Yes,
and plenty of room to spare for layers and other things.
Yeah.
So Peter, this is his favorite bag, and I got to tell you, I went out with this bag just the other day.
Yeah.
This one actually got completely soaked. I was wearing this one and getting drenched in seawater and rainwater.
Doesn't smell.
Actually, this is what it looks like. This is not like fresh off a shelf. This actually was completely doused with all sorts of bad things. It's got a nice DWR, so the water actually beat it and rolled off for a large extent. And everything on the inside remained dry,
That's
which
the key.
which is great.
Yeah. What's the model of this bag?
So this is a Mindshift Backlight 26. So it's a 26 liter bag.
Okay.
Now it doesn't have the fancy rotation. Okay, it's just a standard old bag, but it's got the really comfortable memory foam straps. It's got the padded back, which I really like, and it's got a rear entry access here. Big old zippers. I love these.
We'll put it up so I can see the inside.
I'm going to, but I want to show these like little hook
I'm
things.
not sure you're gonna. Okay. Oh my God.
I just want to show like,
Yeah.
really nice, you can grab these. It comes back to, I like things that I can operate with gloves on. And I can just grab this, zip this down, got a great action. And then on the inside of this was
Nice.
actually configured, and we're going to do it.
What do you want?
Let's grab an SL2 right here.
Here we go.
We're going to take the
Gotta kind of
SL2.
like angle it, sort
Yep.
of. Yeah, be careful. This is.
I know. I can see your
I can
fear.
see it just come crashing down. Just hold it.
Yep. Okay,
you.
so body goes there.
Uh
Now let's take 90 to 280.
huh. Okay. This
go.
is Rob's lines. Rob, if you're watching and this breaks, I take no responsibility. There
Okay,
we go.
90 to 280 fits nice right
Oh,
there.
that's been nice.
And a 24 to 90.
Here we go.
Okay, 24 to 90. Right there. And if you can
at
pan
that.
me the filter nest.
This one?
Yep. Because I just had this bag. This is exactly what I had in here. And maybe a battery case.
Like an SL battery case?
Yep.
I'll give you the 4X.
Sure. Throw that in
Yeah.
there. Okay, this would be 4 batteries. And that goes right here. And that's just the basics, right?
I'm so nervous right now watching this.
yeah. And it fits beautifully.
And there's still room to spare in this bag.
Yeah, there's room to spare, and that's just in the back. And then if we flip it around the front, it has a lot of that same feature.
I'm just going to zip it all the way up.
Yeah, you will.
There we go.
Right. So on the front, what I like is, can you unclip that for me?
I can't. I got it.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Smart. I don't know if you can see that, but it basically doesn't flop open the whole way, and it's got a laptop sleeve for a 15-inch, and on the front of that, it has a 10-inch.
Here, we're going to.
Yep, 10-inch tablet right there. So you can do an iPad, you can do your laptop right there, and then it's got some nice pockets, and it's also big enough that if I wanted to, where's my stuff?
I'm just going to grab the jacket. Got it? Okay.
Yeah, so I can still, plenty deep, I can still stash my jacket, and it closes no problem. This is a really great bag for an SL shooter. I think
like a 3 zoom kit.
it's perfect.
Yeah, that's what's in there.
Yeah.
This is the 3 zoom kit with filters.
Yep.
And room to spare.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it looks really nice actually,
this is
and it's a
pretty sweet.
lot smaller.
Yeah. This is not a very large bag. I mean, this is like when I took to middle school when I was a kid,
Yeah, it's like a knapsack.
Yeah.
Knapsack. Okay, so
There we go.
and then of course you can take flask, throw it in the side, got it there, and you can do another on the other side or whatever you want to stash there. Like I could stash a jacket or a layer right in the pocket. So I love pockets. I love places to put things. Clean design is great, but utilitarian design is even better. So the bag is really nice. And what I like about the Mindshift bags, which a lot of these are Mindshift bags by Think Tank, is they're so lightweight. Empty, this is like 3 pounds maybe.
And this is especially relevant for international travel.
Oh my gosh, yes. Weight limits.
Yes. We should maybe, you want to talk about that a little
Sure.
bit? Although I do want to see what questions people have asked as well. But why don't you want to touch on that first and look at questions, or you want to look at questions first?
Well, someone did actually ask a question about international travel,
Okay.
right?
Oh, this bag. There we go.
It builds character and strong bones.
Yes. So I'm going to take all the stuff out of here so you don't go. So why don't you talk about
Yeah.
international traveling with
Sure.
this kind of gear while I disassemble
Of course.
this monstrosity?
So, I've been everywhere. I have generally not had a problem.
There we go.
All these bags are overhead capable, including the 38 liter, and actually including the 45. Strangely enough, I might question that. The only thing I've had to do to get my 38 liter into overhead compartments is sometimes removing my clothing that I put there. But what's interesting is that actually keeps my check bag size down too, because I don't need to put my down jacket or my shell or parka, whatever. I usually stuff it in the backpack, and they don't generally check that. So I can keep my bag weight down, my check bag weight down, and that allows me to just remove those, put them in my seat with me, or just put them next to the bag in the overhead, which is super easy.
Got it.
I know Peter travels a lot with that backlight 26, and that actually will fit under the seat. So you can fit the green one, as long as there's nothing in the front compartment, will fit under the seat,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah.
Mine will not fit under the seat. It will fit in the overhead. I would advise you to try to get overhead space early.
Let's poke around the questions real quick.
Yeah, what do we got?
I want to see. Scroll up.
We have a
my.
good one here.
Okay, Jose, what do you got for us?
Yeah. Resolution apart. How does the image quality of the S3 compared to the S007 or 006? Also, is the autofocusing in the S3 is the same as in the previous models? And do you use autofocus for landscapes or manual focusing?
That's a lot of questions. We
Well,
talked a lot about the
yeah.
S system in our S system video.
Yes.
So we won't spend too much time on the technical aspects today. Let's answer the last question first, because that's probably the shortest
Yeah,
one.
I think
With
so.
the S system, I'm using autofocus a lot with back button, and then I'll tweak it with manual focus as needed, or I'll use the hyperfocal scale focusing technology they have on the top screen, which we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Right?
That's what I use.
Yeah.
And both these cameras have
Yeah.
the same focusing system.
Yeah. So mostly a combination of autofocus and manual focus, but always using the joystick button to autofocus and never using the shutter button ever. That's the last question.
Yeah. I mean, my answer is
Yes.
almost always I'm shooting at hyperfocal unless I'm doing grab and go kind of as I go, non-tripod, and then I'm using back button focus. So either back button focus or manual focus using the hyperfocal function.
Okay. The autofocus system in the S3, as far as I know, is the same as the 007. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
like if the
No, I'm pretty sure it's the same.
chipset is identical, but I mean, performance it's the same from
yeah.
what I.
I mean, basically, I'd say the 007 and the S3 are essentially the exact same camera, right? Same everything except for the sensor and the supporting electronics.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I would say that, the focus is the same. My experience between using both generations of cameras is they responded exactly the same in terms of focus performance, which is to say, not as fast as an SL2,
Yeah.
but extraordinarily accurate. Focus on the S system is insanely good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just slow.
Image quality wise, I mean, I don't know how much side-by-side testing you've done.
It depends on print size, really.
Yeah, but other than resolution, he's saying like color performance, dynamic range.
Dynamic range is, well, one of the feats of the S3 is the fact that they were able to almost double the amount of pixels without sacrificing dynamic range.
Right.
So usually you have to shrink the pixels so much that you're sacrificing dynamic range. And the S3 is as good as the S007 in terms of DR. In terms of ISO performance, it's actually just a little like a notch better, a little bit cleaner, because they're using a dual native ISO.
Yeah, which we talked about in the S video. So I don't want to like
And the M10R
on
actually
that, yeah.
has that same.
technology. Yes.
Yeah. So the M10R and the S3 sensor are the same underlying technology.
Yeah, that's fair. Good question.
So, but I'd say the color out of the 007 is some of my favorite that I get out of it.
Yeah, we don't have an S3 in our demo kit yet, just because we're prioritizing, customer cameras. But eventually we will, and that'll give us the opportunity to do some more intense side-by-sides, because we have 007, it's right there, which we'll keep, and then start playing with an S3. Let's scroll up and see. Keep going. Keep scrolling. Scroll faster.
Sorry.
Someone used Photos app with the SL for night bridge photos. Being in a warm car with a hot cup of coffee was nice. Yes.
Interesting. So, okay.
Yeah, we know Breakthrough's gonna fix those filters.
Yep.
We have
Photos
one that
app.
just came in.
Yeah.
You want to scroll down to the bottom of the chat?
All right, scroll down, David.
What do we got here?
Tripod.
When do you decide between? Oh, we should talk about tripods. What time is it? Okay, good.
Time to talk about
We
tripods.
can spend the last 30 minutes talking about tripods. So here's the thing about tripods. Whereas filters and bags, we are preset. Tripods, we're still transitioning into the next series.
The new.
The new.
The new.
David has been doing a ton of testing over the past few months, trying to see what, because we want to stay current.
Well, let me give, first of all,
Yes, what are you looking for?
hand me the leg.
The leg. I literally have a leg. It's just a leg.
Okay, now I want to just demonstrate something.
That's how I beat you on the head with this.
Okay.
Sometimes. Oh, sorry. What?
Now this is going to demonstrate two things. Okay, now this is what is left of my 3 series. Actually, I've replaced it. I have a new leg, okay? One of the great things about a good tripod is you can just get this piece to be replaced by the manufacturer and sub it out.
Yeah.
So you might ask, Josh,
Yes.
Why is there all this duct tape on my leg?
I ask, why is there all this duct tape on your tripod leg, Mr. Farkas?
So remember that question earlier about what does extreme cold do? So this happened in Norway last year, and I was shooting in Norway. It's north of the Arctic Circle, 68 degrees north latitude. It's very cold. You might have heard that in the wintertime. So cold, in fact, that the cast magnesium that Gitzo uses on the top of the leg section here that locks the carbon fiber into the tripod leg. And imagine this is sitting right below the apex of the tripod. This is the top leg section of a 3 Series, which is a pretty beefy tripod. And I was pushing it down into a snowbank because there was literally a meter or 3 feet of snow on the ground, and I had to get to the ground because otherwise the camera would just keep sinking as I took a picture. So I'm pushing it down into the ground, which applied a little bit too much lateral force, and the cold metal went snap.
Oh.
I thought it was the carbon fiber when I heard the crack.
Yeah.
It turned out that a giant chunk of the metal just snapped off.
Oops.
So first lesson is, and you can hand me the tape.
You want this one? You want this one?
Both.
Okay.
I highly recommend. People always ask me, why in the world do you carry duct tape in your camera bag? That's
This
why.
is why.
That's why.
Lesson
Be
learned.
prepared for everything. You got to Boy Scout it.
Or Girl Scout it.
Or Girl Scout it. But you got to be prepared. I really like this. I carry this in my camera bag a lot. This is a mini Gorilla Tape. It's pretty waterproof. It's really strong. This is traditional duct tape, which you can actually get in camping sizes. So these are actually meant for backpackers. This is like 50 feet of duct tape in a very, very itty bitty tiny package. So you don't have to carry like a huge Home Depot size roll of duct tape.
Yeah.
But duct tape is pretty strong. I think Mythbusters did an entire survival episode on it.
They built a boat out of
They
it.
built a boat and
Yeah.
clothes and like a raft.
Yeah.
So I had no alternative. I didn't have a backup. So I just wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped until it was strong enough to use for the rest of the 7 days. And I replaced the leg afterwards. But it started me thinking, why did that happen? And should that have happened on a $1,200 tripod? And I have to say, what Josh is talking about is I'm in that transitional period. I personally own 6 or 7 Gitzo carbon fiber tripods of various sizes. There's actually 2 sitting in front of us in the studio here. I think I've got like one under the table here.
There, yeah.
I've got another one out there. So I've been a big user of Gitzo over the last 15 years. I've updated through their generations, and look, they invented the carbon fiber tripod. They invented the twist lock leg locks. Before that, instead of snap locks, they invented the rapid column. There's a lot of firsts with Gitzo. They're really innovative. And then something happened where they just kind of stopped innovating that much. And I was looking for something a little different. So I was really excited. It comes back. I was having that conversation with Graham at Breakthrough. He also saw a need for a better tripod. And they actually created a whole new company called Colorado Tripod Company. And we have one of the very first shipping
Exciting.
units. Yep.
Very
This is
exciting.
the first look. First look. He sent me one that is like fresh off the production line, not even a retail box. So I got this for evaluation and to show it off. And this is a Colorado Tripod Company 4 Series Centennial tripod in aluminum. And let's just say, here's some of the cool things, right? Especially coming from design from a landscape photographer who had used everything like myself. This is all machined aluminum, which is really nice. And there's some cool stuff. I don't know if you can get a close-up. We're going to try for a close-up. Okay.
There you go.
And instead of the traditional pull-out system and push-back system of the leg angles, this one actually uses just a single spring-loaded lever action.
Pretty clever.
Yep, to do that, and then it will snap into place, which is, he said, why do something in 3 or 4 steps that you can do in 1? Which I agree with that. It's 10-layer Japanese carbon fiber, which is really nice. The leg locks I really like are super beefy and chunky, but really smooth action. They actually have a hole in the top of the tripod so it doesn't trap any air. So it's nice and fluid and, really positive locking force. All metal construction, and the machining quality is just super, super nice. There's a leveling base that's coming for this with, instead of the traditional level on the bottom, which can be a little tricky to get to, it's actually going to be a side handle, like a motorcycle throttle, if you will. So the tripod's really, really nice. This one goes to 70 inches and folds down to, I think this is like 24.
Yeah.
I can check the specs on that.
Yeah.
But still, it's airline travelable. Will fit in my check. Usually, I'm just another little packing tip. I usually will take my tripod, take the head off, and I put it into my travel bag. So I don't have to carry it on the plane, because that can be a little tricky, depending. Some people might view this as dangerous. And I don't want to risk that. So what I do is I do put it in my check bag, and I just kind of put clothes in between it, around it to pad it.
Yeah.
So what's really exciting also is their new series of heads.
Yeah, let's just show the head separately.
I'm going
to
to
actually wield it.
Yeah, I got to wield the head.
A little ungainly, but we're getting there. I'll take the legs from you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have a 2 series they're coming out with as well. Oh,
Yeah.
I should also mention, so this is made in Denver, Colorado, at their facility. Everything is hand machined, and there was water just fell out of it from the chute. It's okay. This is $499
Okay.
for the 4 series.
Yeah.
And their 2 series, I think, is $299, which is insane.
Yeah. For a
For an American-made
carbon fiber, full-size,
Yeah.
serious tripod.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
and it weighs 4 pounds and holds a lot.
Yes. Show them the head.
So there's more water coming out.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. This, if you get a close-up, you'll see why the table's getting wet.
Oh, my goodness. You were not prepared for this at all,
Yeah,
are you?
so a little bit of water here. This
a little
is,
bit.
Yep, smells like the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Anyway,
it's a little wet.
What is the head?
So the head is, this is called their Highline Medium ball head. And it's also machined aluminum, which is really nice. It has some cool, like, knurled knobs. Now, the interesting thing about, oh, wow, there's so much water.
coming out.
Actually,
Don't rub it all over the table.
hand me the BH55.
Where?
It's right under there,
Where?
on top of that.
Oh, hold, please.
Hold, please.
Let's hope this one isn't full of water, right?
I don't think, well, I did hose that one down too.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
This is analogous to what it's like to work with David, like on a day-to-day basis. Things
Listen.
just start leaking. It's terrible.
It's yeah, there's a little wet. Okay. So this is my head also. This is a Really Right Stuff BH55, which I'd say is my current,
Oh, there's so much water
I
still
know,
coming in.
my current main tripod head. Okay. And this is a great head, the BH55 from Really Right Stuff. The problems I've had is, because I have problems with everything eventually, right? This clamp mechanism, you can probably hear it. I don't know. It's a little bit on the stiff side. So over time, this clamp has sort of given way, and the spring mechanism doesn't spring very well anymore. In fact, in cold climates, like when I was in Norway last, I used this head, and I undid the clamp into the lever, and the clamp stayed closed, and I had to hit it Fonzie style every time I wanted to get the camera off. Not ideal, which again led me to say, maybe there's something different. Maybe there's something better. This also weighs 1.9 pounds without a plate.
It's dense.
It's very dense.
It's very heavy.
But it holds like 50 to 75 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? So the weight should be worth it. So when I see this one, now this looks like a much smaller head. The Highline Medium also has an ARCA compatible quick release lever style, but it's a completely different locking mechanism. And this head weighs just over 1 pound, almost half the weight of the BH55, and it holds 75 pounds of load. So it's as strong as the BH55 in half the weight. I actually weighed that 4 series tripod with this head on it versus my 3 series systematic Gitzo with the BH55, and it was exactly 1 pound less. That is not an insignificant amount of weight, because that means I can bring that many more snacks.
You had to take it all the way back to the snacks.
No.
So this is something we're phasing into the shop. We're
Yes.
not all the way there yet, but we're so excited about it that we couldn't resist.
Oh, well, I have to say,
showing it what?
crazy thing. If
Yes.
anyone knows and has bought one of these, which this is mine, Josh actually has one too.
I have my own, yes.
This is almost $500.
Yeah.
How much is this, Josh? Do you know?
No.
Oh, this is $179.
Is it really? We don't have these. We don't have them listed yet.
Not
do we?
yet. No,
So,
this is $179
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
Nuts. And I want to get a close up because the lever mechanism is very satisfying.
you
I
go.
like it.
Let's do it.
So if we get a close up on that,
Can we get closer?
I don't know. Maybe.
Jose. Studio man. Bring closer. There we go. Zoom.
The zoom
activated.
R. Okay. Yeah, nice.
Now we're cooking with
Now we're
gas.
cooking. Okay. So what's really cool about this is there's a safety mechanism. Okay. And I can't unlock it by accident. I'm just going to show here. If you're locked in, there's some tension here, but it can certainly be released. This one has a safety catch, and what I really appreciate is it has these little ridges on both the safety catch and on the lever itself. Again, great for wearing gloves. And I just squeeze here, release, and I have that plate that's compatible. It's going to show here.
There we go.
So I do use Really Right Stuff L brackets, and I can put that right on. Okay, we're doing this a little on the upside down ways here.
You want to hold the camera?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah. Here. I got
I'll
it.
just put it down like that.
I got it.
Yeah, and just going to lock that in. Snaps nicely.
Got it.
Yep.
So this is a Really Right Stuff SL2 L bracket with the Breakthrough Photography Colorado tripod.
Yep.
Head. Okay, so it is compatible. Is the point we're making here? Yeah.
And it's cool. They actually, depending if you have Really Right Stuff or traditional Arca widths or Kirk plates, they're all slightly different widths, and it has a little knob here to adjust the clamp tension, which is really nice.
That's pretty cool.
So now what I'm really excited about is they're going to be making the Highline head and both the tripods, the 2 series and the 4 series, out of titanium. Because titanium is always better. It's like lasers.
Yes.
It's like titanium with
You need
lasers.
both.
So the titanium head is going to weigh less than a pound and still hold 75 pounds. The tripod, I'm not sure exactly how much weight it's going to shave off, but a fair amount.
Yeah.
Now, the legs are still carbon fiber.
Right,
But
the hardware.
the hardware is
Yeah.
all going to be pure titanium. So machined titanium, both head and tripod. And I'm just going to say straight up, that's my next system.
Yeah.
Um,
But we got some time before
Yeah.
that comes out. Like,
I think it's going to be, so those are supposed to come by the beginning of 2021.
yeah.
So stay tuned. We're probably going to make an announcement about that because
Yeah, and we'll probably do a tripod episode
Yeah,
at some point.
I'm
We're
just
gonna, once we
excited
get
about that.
everything, this is more of a teaser for what's to come.
Right.
Because we are still trying to figure out, how to integrate it. So
Now, I think there was a question, though, about the Peak Design travel tripod somewhere
Yes.
in all this.
yes.
Okay, I'm not a big fan of the Peak Design travel tripod.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of, actually, my favorite strap. The only strap that I recommend besides the Leica strap is actually the Peak Design Slide Light.
This one.
This is my
There we go.
This is my personal camera strap. I love this strap, and I'm going to touch on this just for a second because it's a convenient time to do so. You might notice these little winglets hanging off my SL2 here, and the reason for that. We'll get to a little close-up angle. We're going to try to get there. We go. Okay, and the reason for these little winglets here is there's a quick release mechanism. If I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Peak Design products, and specifically this system, but you just push the little button in there, and I did that one-handed, as you can see, because I'm holding the camera with the other. What's great about this is these are super strong, high tensile strength, and I'm able to use the strap to carry it around. But then when I go onto a tripod, I can easily just almost.
There you go. You got it.
I can pop out because I have to tell you, I've shot in some really windy places, and this just becomes a flappy sail hanging off the back of the camera, making it wobble on the
Yeah.
tripod.
Plus, if you do like I do, and you throw your tripod over your shoulder to hike around, and then you have your strap dangling down,
yeah.
and it catches on something, and you go, it's a mess. So
Yeah.
the Peak Design, this is a slide light.
Slide
It's
light.
The slide light. This is the black or the ash.
Yeah,
This
that's
is black. Yeah. Super convenient. They make a couple different thicknesses of neck strap. They make hand straps. We
Yeah,
talked
there's
about,
a smaller one over there too.
they have a whole range of stuff, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so people ask me, what straps do you recommend for landscape? I'm like, well, one strap, either use the stock SL or S strap, which is neoprene and rubberized, which is great. I use that a ton. but I love this one.
Mark says a pound of snacks is a lot of snacks. Actually, I have seen David's snack suitcase, and it is definitely more than a pound of snacks. This man is a snackaholic. It's a terrible disease. He brought snacks with him. What are you going to snack on air now?
No, it was just to show the bag.
I'll the people talking, you just snacking. So that, yeah. Sorry, so the Colorado tripods, I would say coming soon.
Very soon.
Keep an eye out for that. We still wanted to show you about it because it's cool. Look, there's a lot of great brands out there. We don't want to sound like we're bashing the other brands, but we have just found that this is a system that works for us.
And I really appreciate someone, let me say this. I really appreciate a company that takes an engineering, customer-focused, field-tested approach rather than a marketing approach.
Yeah.
And I always feel that Leica cameras are designed with engineers at the helm because the product management team in Germany for Leica is always thinking about how to refine the product and stay on brand and stick to what they call, the essentials. And that's why each generation is more and more refined without getting bloated with unnecessary things. They've stayed true to that message, and they have amazing engineering at Leica. To find another company that, does this with constant iteration and improvement and actually willingness to say, oh, do you think people will be interested in X, Y, or Z? We should totally do that.
Yeah.
To have that kind of interaction with a company, I am so pleased with that.
Yeah.
And to be so quality focused and have the experience of using all of these other brands, like personally and professionally, before even starting into the manufacturing business is amazing. So that's why I'm really excited with this kind of burgeoning relationship we have with Breakthrough in Colorado Tripod.
Yeah, I feel it. I think they have a good future, and we're definitely going to be talking about it more on this show once we get a bit of stuff in house. But David, I want you to ask me that last question there because we definitely are going to talk about this right now.
Okay. So MJ says, just bought an SL2 and 3 M lenses with an adapter. Have you used the M135, I'm assuming the APO,
Yeah.
on the SL2 for landscape telephoto shots, and what are your thoughts?
Yes, I have actually. And I think for performance and size, the 135 Apo Telet M is amazing.
It is?
It's a bit of an odd filter size to 49, so keep that in mind if you're polarizing or whatever. If you have a Q2, of course, it's a non-issue. It doesn't have a tripod foot on it. It's light enough you don't really need it, but I have found that sometimes I like the way the lenses with the foot balance better. But the questions that David and I get a lot, and we've talked about a lot, are telephoto solutions for the SL2.
Yes.
Especially other than the 9280, which is large, although amazing and worth it, but whatever. I think if you want to stay in the Leica ecosystem, of course, 135 is as long as you can get in an M. That's as long as it goes. And that's pretty long. But for the kind of landscape work that we both do, we're shooting 180, 210, 250 and longer. So the 135 Apo is not long enough. So 2 lenses that I've used, that David has used, we've used them on, really started with the 240, the M240.
Yeah, that's right.
Would be the 180 Apo Elmarit R, which I do have.
I think you have one over there.
Over here. Okay.
I could throw it on here.
And the lens I don't have at the moment is a 280 Apo Telet.
Ooh, the F4?
Yeah, 280 Apo F4. So
Yeah, I wish I had one of those.
2 lenses that are obviously not available new anymore, but available pre-owned occasionally.
Small.
The 280 is smaller than the 280. But
yeah, it's big.
The 180 Apo Telet, or excuse me, the 180 Apo Elmarit 2.8, right there. Can we get a close-up on that, Jose? There we go. Is really not much bigger than an SL Prime.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, so I won't beat it to death. But with the R adapter L and the stabilization on the SL2, for handheld, you can do it. And for landscape, it's fantastic. So certainly, if you're looking for a telephoto solution on the SL2,
That's a 50.
that's a 50. That is an option. Also, the 180 S lens is incredible.
Do you have the adapter on?
I do not have the adapter on there, but I can put it on there if I can find it.
Right in front of you.
It's literally in front of me. So 180S with the S adapter L on the SL2. Of course, it is a 180, so it's the same focal length as the 180R lens.
That is actually going to be a little sharper than the 180R lens, and it's autofocus, and it's weather sealed.
Exactly.
And it's auto aperture.
Exactly. So if you are in a serious environment where there's weather and you want a prime telephoto solution, this is actually probably the best. The 180 Apple Elmar S with the
Super
S
nice.
adapter L, because again, you get autofocus, electronic aperture control, weather sealing, and it is the sharpest 180 Leica has ever made. So,
Now, John, what about the adapter though?
and the adapter is also weather sealed,
Perfect.
which is fantastic.
And you get a tripod.
They have
foot.
the removable tripod foot that does come off. So even though the 180S doesn't have its own tripod collar, the foot sits at that center of gravity there and it balances really, really well. So,
Yeah, so if I hold it here, you'll see that's a nice balance.
this is a 144 millimeter equivalent on an S camera, which is pretty long, but having the full 180 reach on an SL2 is very nice. I think this,
And it's a moderate 72 millimeter filter.
yeah,
thread.
it's not, it's a pretty usable lens. And if, the autofocus is definitely not as fast as the 9280, but if
for
you're
landscape,
it doesn't matter.
matter.
It doesn't matter. So that is probably one of the more underrated options for tele shooting with an SL2 for landscape.
I mean, the other lens that I love on the SL2 from the S line is what's on the S right now.
Or the 120,
I'll trade
you
you.
swap
Yeah.
it out. Camera's off, right?
Yep.
Trade you. There you go.
There we go.
There we go. That's the 120 macro S lens with the S adapter L on the SL2. I mean, if I was going to buy a 007 with some S lenses, I'd probably have an SL2 with an S adapter L as a second body, because you could get 2 or 3 S primes, a 007. Let's say you already have an SL2.
Yeah.
For the sake of it. You get one SL2 zoom with the adapter, and you've got 2 or 3 primes, 1 zoom, 2 bodies. So you have a backup body, a main body. You've got 1 body for ultimate image quality. You've got another body for the flexibility and the speed. Everything is weather sealed 100%. Everything is cross compatible. Everything is autofocus. Everything is full frame. There's no cropping or anything like that. So
Now, I think that's a good point, though, in terms of the question here.
Yes.
Now, what if S lenses are lenses? What if these are just too big? Is there something for me if I want something
Yes.
really, really small? And you talked about the 135, which is, I would say, kind of an outside use scenario. But what if we want to go smaller and lighter? Now, there's a couple options, right?
I think, and something that I've talked about a lot and will always talk about because I use it, TL lenses on the SL2.
Oh,
Yes.
that's too light.
You crop to 20 megapixels. So if you're looking for the full 47, don't do this.
Right.
But if you're in a situation where you don't need the full resolution or your objective is to have the smallest, lightest kit possible, TL. This is an 11 to 23, which is equivalent to a 16 to 35. It's fantastically sharp. It's not weather sealed, so keep that in mind. But it's very light. I mean, look at the way it is on the SL. It's so small. And it weighs nothing.
Right.
And it's actually, funny enough, a 67 millimeter filter thread size, which is
Yep,
the
yep,
same
yep.
as all of the SL primes. You
Yep.
have all the filters are all cross compatible. So don't count out the 55 to 135 either, which I don't have.
Nope. But there's another option as well. What if you want full frame and something small and light?
You can go with.
And I would say even more specifically, what about wide angle?
Oh, okay.
Let's be more.
Let's pop this bad boy on there. Hold on.
Oh, that's 21?
It is.
Perfect.
And you need this. So we're getting really late, but we should talk about what we'll then, of course, talk about more.
Remember, we started.
Well, let
30
me
minutes
answer
after.
Steve's question really quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Steven asks, CS lenses for landscape. There's no benefit
Irrelevant.
because in a traditional medium format system like Hasselblad that has a leaf shutter, a CS shutter, it is technically more stable because there is no mirror. There is no shutter curtain. It's just a little, basically like an aperture.
Yep.
The thing is, with the CS lenses on the S, you still need to activate the camera's mirror and focal plane shutter. They have to open, and then the CS shutter will fire. So it's the same amount of inherent vibration. There's no performance benefit whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, this is a CS lens here.
Yeah, just because we want to have
just
one
because
on
we
demo.
have it, but
No, there's no reason to spring for the CS lenses unless you get a smoking deal on one.
and they do weigh a little more.
I mean, like 100 grams, but
100 grams
yeah,
times
okay.
6 lenses.
All right. That's
600 grams is like
a pound and a change.
it's a lot. Yeah.
So no, the CS lenses have no benefit for landscape photography whatsoever.
No.
Anyway, we're talking about M lenses. So the objective is to have a compact, full-frame SL2 kit.
Boom.
Boom. 21 Super Elmar, sweet lens, very small. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I mean, it's not weather sealed. It's not autofocus. It's not electronically controlled aperture.
But you know what?
It's very small, very sharp, and very light, and it's full frame.
Yeah.
Hard to beat that.
So let's say you want to travel a little bit lighter. Maybe you got a 35. What if it's 35 Appos over there?
SL?
It's right there. Or is it right here?
That's right here, 35.
Oh.
Here we go. We're all over the place.
Yeah, so let's say you want to build out a really small landscape kit. Okay, so I've got a 35 Apo SL. I don't think we have it on the table, but let's pretend that that's a 90. We're just gonna pretend.
Well, this one?
Oh, you do have a 90.
No, 50.
That's a 50. Oh,
It looks like a 90.
well, let's change that 5
They
to a
all look
9.
exactly the same.
We'll fix it in post.
Yes.
Okay. So let's just say this is a 90 because they're all the same size. So I have a 30. I'm going to set them over here. We have a 35, a pretend 90, and we don't have that prime lens in the SL line,
Yet.
but we could use a 21 yet. So you get a nice compact landscape kit that you can cover pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Because I think about my most used focal lengths in every system I use is pretty much what you're seeing here. If I had to really, like, you held my feet to the fire, what do you really need? If I'm shooting in the S system, I'm using a 24, a 45, and a 120 macro. And that equates to a 19, which is close to 21.
Yeah.
19, 35, which is the 45 is a 35, and 95, but call it a 90 with the 120.
If you were shooting and you were wearing a coat, you could bring that kit and not have a camera bag. Put those two in a coat pocket. Seriously, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And that's all full frame right there. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think if you wanted to be really cheeky, you could even have the 21 on there and put the SL2 in the APS-C crop mode and make it a 30, like a 30 something.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah, for sure. For
if
sure.
you didn't have
You
time
could.
to pop on the
I would more say the 90. If you
Yeah.
put it in crop mode, you can get a little extra.
That's
length
true.
out
Get
of
like
it.
135 or one. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely an option if you're trying to keep things small and light.
Yeah.
Or, replace one of these with a 35 Similux, M lens.
Yeah.
And then replace this with a 90 f4 collapsible macro. And suddenly this kit gets tiny.
Very small. Yeah.
Not much bigger than an M kit, but with the advantages of in-body image stabilization, electronic shutter, all that.
Yeah.
But I think that's more for the next episode when we talk about
Yeah.
building out an M kit.
Yeah. That's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing all M. So this is a lot of like
Well,
big
M
stuff.
and Q and CL.
Yeah, small stuff, right?
Small stuff.
CL, M, Q,
Yep.
TL, the little guys. All right, so we're getting late, but I'm sure we have time for at least one more burning
Remember,
question.
we started late, so.
I know, but
Okay.
we started at
Let's
8:30
see.
and it's 10:30. We usually do 2 hours.
How much can I stop down before getting diffraction?
We've talked about this a lot.
we have-
but let's talk about it again because it is landscape photography.
Sure,
So why don't
sure,
you
sure.
just give him the rundown on that?
So you obviously have to balance depth of field versus diffraction. Nothing's for free. And that's, I would say my ballpark is f11. It kind of works for all the cameras. If you want to get technical, the SL2 is probably more like f9, but I've shot at f11 and it's okay. I mean, certainly it looks great, but it's going to be a little bit sharper if you're more in the f9, f10 range than f11 with one of the great things about the S007 at 37 megapixel, but remember, 60% larger. So there's 6 micron pixel size, and you can shoot that more 11 to 13 without getting diffraction. So there's some advantages there. But basically, I would stick, let's just say, f11 on any Leica currently.
Yeah.
I would not go past that because friends do not let friends shoot at f16. That's it.
That's a shirt right there.
That's a shirt. Friends do not
What
let
else you got
friends.
for us, Jose?
Let's see.
No, we had some questions that we didn't get to.
How do you back up your images while on a multi-day shoot?
Well, I do want to address that. How do I back up my images?
Didn't we talk about that? Oh no,
No, I want to address that for tripod. But let me talk about the.
You want something?
So I got the backup.
This.
Nope.
Where is it?
Hard drives somewhere.
Ah, found them. Pardon me as I reach in
Yeah.
into the void.
And my SD Pixel Pocket. Okay. Now, so this is a two-pronged approach, and I've talked about this numerous times. So I'm just going to kind of plow through it. So this is a Think Tank Pixel Pocket Rocket, and what it looks like inside is you can hold 9, or if you double them up, 18 SD cards, and these are actually my SD cards. For demonstration purposes, I took these from, these are previously used SD cards. So these all have images on them, and I don't want to shake because it'll get blurry. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Blurry
Yeah,
images.
everything's out of focus now.
So my initial strategy is I bring enough memory cards that I don't have to use them more than once. So I will go through, fill a memory card up, take it out of the camera, start a next memory card, etc. That's step one, because that's always going to be my backup. And this is going to be kept with my camera gear, not with my computer gear. I actually have a separate small laptop sleeve that I keep kind of minimal that I'll travel with as well. And I make sure to keep my images downloaded onto portable SSD drives. So this is some Samsung T5 drives in here. I have learned my lesson that, and this is my very fancy Ziploc bag method of organization, but I have found that I put a little "if you find me" label with my name, phone number, email address, because unfortunately I did lose one of these in JFK, coming back from Iceland. But all my images were on this, and what I do is I download on the computer into Lightroom, and I transfer them onto the SSD every day, every night that I'm back in the hotel, or I've traveled. Actually, the first time I went to Iceland was to test out the 007. I didn't have a hotel. In fact, I never stayed in a hotel except the night before I left. I slept in my car and drove everywhere. And I, inside the car at night, I still downloaded my images and made sure, one, you want to back up everything as you go every day, because the most you'll ever lose is a day. If you keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting on a 256 gig card, and then all of a sudden something happens and it's corrupted, you've lost an entire trip, and that is not good. That is not a good feeling to have.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is back up incrementally as you go, which also allows you to spot problems. If you have a giant hair in all your images because you got a fuzzy on your sensor, you can address that before you go out and shoot the next day. So you haven't lost that, but you've also had the opportunity to remedy any problems that you have. If you notice your exposures are off, you can adjust that. If you notice that, your filters are smeary or whatever it is, it's a great way to spot check and make sure that you're staying on top of just that, making sure that everything is working as it's supposed to be, because things happen in the field and you want to make sure you can catch it as soon as possible. But backing up to this stays with the computer. Unfortunately, I lost it, but because all my memory cards were in my card wallet, in my camera bag, in fact, attached into my camera bag, there's a nice tether here, I didn't lose anything. I was able to just copy those to a new drive when I got home, and point my Lightroom catalog to the new images, and bam, all my edits were there, all my sorting was there, all the work I had done over 2 weeks, and the 4,000 images were all there. I didn't lose a thing. So always keep a backup of your backup. So that's my PSA for that, and I think we nailed that. Okay.
We should do Jim's question here in the first half, as you're literally dropping.
Yeah, but the great thing about SSDs, right? That's my other thing.
Yes.
Please, 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 please do not use spinning hard drives for travel and for landscape shooting. Don't do it. I know they're fancy rubber armored orange things. It doesn't matter. You drop it the way I just did, and it's toast.
Yeah.
You cannot do that with a spinning drive, no matter how fancy it looks, because it has very fragile spinning platters inside that are within micron tolerances, and they will get destroyed. These are solid state. It doesn't matter what happens to these. They can take a beating. You can drop them off wherever. Okay, as long as the chip doesn't physically crack in half, you're good to go. So please, please spend a little more. I have links to the ones I like on here. I generally go for either 1 or 2 terabyte size Samsung or Sabrent drives. Super reliable, super easy to use, super small.
Sweet.
I'm done with that.
That's okay. I'm gonna ask you another question. Jim has a good question here. The first part here.
Yeah.
When do you decide between a travel tripod and a full-size tripod?
I just always take a full-size tripod.
I think-
Because there's a reason. There's
Okay.
a reason. And I have been on trips, and people wonder, why in the world am I using a 3 or 4 series tripod? Do you really need it? Well, one, the S camera, you kind of do need it because it's big. The lenses are heavy. The camera's heavy. If I'm using a 90 to 280 lens, it's big, it's heavy, and it's a long focal length. You generally need a good amount of mass to weight yourself down. You need a good solid head, good quality plates. to lock everything down. That being said, I have shot in situations where I've been with people who are using even a tripod like this. Got it? Yep. This is one of my many tripods.
Careful.
Sorry, this is a 2 Series Gitzo, which is a great tripod, and I would have no qualms about using this for travel. In fact, I'll take if I'm shooting an SL, I think it's a little overkill for an M. I like a 1 Series for an M, but a 2 Series is great for an SL kit if I'm traveling to an urban environment or a very friendly landscape environment like my backyard. Okay. But if I'm going to go someplace where the conditions are unpredictable or they are known for being very adverse, I will absolutely size up and bring a much bigger tripod, because I have been to places where even a 2 Series Gitzo tripod has actually, with a camera on top, blown over. Like just the wind with just the surface area of the camera knocked the entire tripod to the ground. That was in Iceland. That happened twice, actually. I've seen it twice. And that wasn't even as bad wind as I've ever seen. The worst wind I've had was in Patagonia. We encountered 100-mile-an-hour wind, where you could actually just stand up and lean forward and let the wind hold you up. It was insane. So when you're shooting in a windy, adverse condition, you need something more solid to ground your camera, because I'm not going to go halfway around the world and get blurry pictures because I didn't want to take a tripod that weighed 1.5 pounds more.
Yeah.
And it's just a fact of life. Like, you want to shoot this stuff, you want to get the best quality you can, use the best quality tools that are available, use something that is big enough. If you watched 2 weeks ago, I would not advise you to use a 2 Series or a 3 Series tripod for street photography and travel photography. I would advise you to use a travel tripod, and a 1 Series or even smaller, tabletop. But when it comes to landscape and bringing all the things, you're going to these crazy places that is really hard to get to, and it's some of the most beautiful scenery you can imagine. And the worst thing would be if all your pictures are slightly shaky because you just didn't have a strong enough tripod to shoot, let's say, a 6-second exposure where there was a lot of wind and the camera's moving. So go big or don't go.
Any other questions in the chat before we call it a night? Let's see. David, you
Roy asks if I carry a ground level tripod. I don't. All these tripods, I don't shoot with center columns. So my tripods can go extremely low to the ground. I don't find center columns to be very useful. I'm able to cut the weight significantly by not having that center column, and I can go flat to the ground without any fussing. And I don't really need the extra height because I've already got a tripod that goes above my head.
Luis, we're talking about S and SL today. 2 weeks, we're doing M. So stay tuned.
I do want to touch on just a couple quick things.
Okay.
I think we had a question before the live stream about battery management, because some people go on these trips where, like multi-day trips, where you actually don't have access. Either you're going camping or you're going hiking or things like that, where you don't have ready access to power. And that's a real thing. I know that Kirsten and I had this conversation. You should check out, she had a great article where she did overland canoeing in northern Minnesota in the Boundary Waters with the SL and the 35 Summicron. You can check out her article, great photography. But we had this she said, what am I going to do? I'm going for 4 days and I have no way to change batteries, charge batteries. So there's a couple things you can do. The SL2 is pretty cool in the fact that you can actually use it as a charger, and it's got I'm just going to point out, it's got a USB Type-C connector right here. You don't have to get a close-up. Trust me, it's there. So at the very least, I carry one of these, and I talked about a smaller version of this in our travel photography section last session. This is a My Charge. I've got a link to it down below, and this is mine. It's got flip-out prongs, so I can just charge it right in a wall and put it away when I don't need it. I don't have to worry about bringing a cable. And also, it's got a lightning connector, so I can just charge my phone with that, which is also handy because when you're out in the wild, you want to have a full charge on your phone. And then it has a native USB Type-C connector, which I will just plug into the camera, and you can see the magic happen.
You want to show it on the close-up there?
We're going to.
You should like put the lens.
What's that?
Like put it lens up or lens down. Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get it in there.
And
Okay.
with the bracket on there as well.
And you will see, I know the light is pretty bright. Let me just get it out of the light.
There you go.
Okay. So what you see right here, right there, is the green light is flashing. So it is charging the battery inside the camera. So what you can do is when you're not taking pictures, you can just leave this be and you can charge your camera up. This is also very handy if you're going to be doing very long exposure. You can come back to the wide shot. When you're doing very long exposure, because the SL2 will do, I think, 20 or 30-minute exposures. That means you have a dark frame subtraction, long exposure noise reduction of that length also. So if you're doing a 20-minute exposure, that's 40 minutes that the sensor is actually active, which is
a long time.
My biggest fear is running out of battery. So I'll also use this for doing long exposures because you're able to power the camera while it's doing that. This is going to drain the battery because it's not fully supplying all the power, but it'll drain it a lot slower. And then when you turn the camera off, you will actually charge the battery. So, so this is pretty neat. I like this. And if this is too short for you, you can just use there's a USB-A port up here, and you can get a USB-A to USB-C cable just on Amazon for like $5. And you can have this in your camera bag or your pocket, and you can have a longer cable go to your camera. I really like, if you're looking for those, I really like the, what do you call it? The sleeved, like braided cables, because they're nicer than the rubberized cable. So this is one solution. And along those same lines, let's say that, well, this is going to run out of power because you're not going to be able to charge, right? So I recently discovered, because I've been through some other solar chargers, but this one was interesting because it's a very large battery bank, much larger than that little guy. And you can actually recharge this in the field with a
That's pretty cool.
solar power, right? And I think this one's waterproof and everything. And it actually, what's crazy, are the lights coming on?
Yes. Is it charging from our studio light?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can see, there's a little light indicator on the side.
Right here.
But it actually is charging from an LED studio light, not even the sun, which is pretty bananas. So a lot of the kind of first generation iterations of these things just have a single panel here, which, let's be honest, it's not enough to actually charge the battery.
Yeah.
So this one is enough to actually charge that battery when you're, just at camp in the morning, whatever. Stop for lunch, stop for a snack, lay this out on the ground, or attach it to the back of your backpack like that, and charge it up. And then this thing, I think, is 25,000 milliamp hour charger versus that one's about 10,000. So it's double the size, and it's got high-speed charging ports that are weather sealed, and you can charge your camera with this, or your phone, or whatever other USB electronics. And this is like, I put a link to this thing, I think. It's like $30 on Amazon. This is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot of versatility.
Yeah.
And this could save your butt if you're in the field, or especially if it's cold.
Yeah.
And you're shooting, especially with long exposures, using your 15-stop ND.
Yeah.
It'll save your life.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then, and of course, we got to give our basic advice, which is have enough batteries to get you through a full day of shooting.
Yes. Don't lie to yourself about how much you want to shoot. Don't shoot around battery life.
Well, there's no worse feeling, I think, than you've shot, like, let's say, the most amazing day. It was an incredible sunrise. The morning light was just fantastic, spectacular. And you're like, oh my gosh, the midday light is super nice, especially when you're the further north latitudes you get. The light is just amazing. And you're getting that morning light for 4 hours. And you're like, okay, forget lunch. I've got a snack, which is another reason to have snacks, by the way. Keep shooting. I'm just going to keep shooting through lunch. Oh my gosh, I'm getting some great portrait work, in a village, and I got some good detail shots. Okay, we're getting ready for sunset. Oh my gosh, the sunset looks amazing. Last battery, dead. And now what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? You got to keep the fun going by having enough juice. I always make sure, and the follow-up question is, well, how many batteries is enough? I find 4 batteries for the SL2 is probably the most I'll ever use. Generally, I go through about 3 1/4 in a really full day of shooting.
Yeah.
But I have gone through 4 full batteries in a day, like I did when I went out west. 4 batteries. I know that sounds insane, but 4 batteries. Josh has a really cool way to actually organize the batteries.
Oh yeah, I've got the old. I've shown the two. I've shown these both before, but I think if you're sort of out in that intense landscape environment, this is the SL battery box 4X, which will hold 4 SL2, Q2 batteries together. So put it right away. So this, I don't have any more of them right now, but if you are bringing, especially if you have 2 bodies, you may have 4 batteries plus, 1 or 2 of these, you slide it in your bag, it keeps the batteries organized, it keeps the contact protected, and it has a little indicator on the front for whether it's charged or not. So for landscape stuff, when you have a larger bag, just like David slotted this into the think tank bag, the 4X battery box is really, really handy because you don't want to have a bunch of those 2X boxes lying around. You've got the 4X box, you know exactly where your batteries are.
And which charged and not charged.
Yes, you know where they are. They're not loose in the bag. They're not stuck in a corner somewhere. They're all kept organized. And you can know which one's charged and which one's not.
I like that.
Super handy.
Yeah. So have enough. And then I'd say for the S, either 007 or S3, believe it or not, 2 batteries would get you through a whole day, but I like to have 3.
And a quick teaser,
And they're bigger.
S battery boxes will be available in about a week.
Yeah, they're a little bit bigger for those that aren't.
I haven't told you that yet, but I'm getting them. I'm getting 2X and 4X S battery boxes from Germany.
Nice.
In like a week. So
Nice.
I'll show those
All right.
on
I
a
like
random
that.
episode or something.
Yeah. So S batteries. So basically, it would be like this: 1 in the camera, 2 here.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I don't have a battery box, I'll use my my leg pocket.
Yeah.
And let's see, did we miss anything that was super important to tell people about?
I think we're doing pretty good. I think we've got quite a while.
I'm gonna glance over there.
I think we've got
Covered it all. Oh, headlamp.
What, a headlamp.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you got to have a headlamp
This is the last thing you get to talk
because I
about.
want you to talk about
Where'd it go?
It's up there.
Where?
Up there. Oh, right there.
Oh, I'm literally looking at it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, good quality, waterproof headlamp. I know, sounds really stupid, but guess what? When you are going out to shoot a sunrise, to get a good sunrise, you have to show up like at least 30 minutes before sunrise, which means you are hiking out in nighttime. It is pitch black. So having a headlamp that also, I like ones that angle down so you can illuminate your feet without looking down. You can look ahead. And also one, not just that's bright, but also that can go to this, which is red light. Because nothing annoys photographers more when you're shooting a landscape at night than blinding everyone with white light. So having a dimmable light for one, and then also having red light that you can keep your night vision, but still check camera settings and lenses and things like that, because it really is very visible on the camera itself, but it won't blind you or everyone else, and you won't lose your night vision.
Highly recommended.
Yeah. So really, this is the best. I've been through a few of these. This is the best one I found, which is the Black Diamond Storm 400, and this is actually submersible, so you can like swim with this thing if you wanted to, or spelunk or whatever. But it's great if you're getting rained on. Big fan of
I
it.
see a few people. I don't know if you linked the solar charger, so
I'll do it here.
This
Yeah,
is the
I'll get a
solar
link.
charger HI
I don't think that's the. I'll link to it. I'll link to it. I'll link to it.
I don't know what it is.
Check back. I'll link to it
we'll
right
put it
after
in
the
there,
live
we
stream.
promise. All right, I think we've pretty much covered a lot. And we can talk about more gizmos
Oh my gosh, yeah.
in 2 weeks as well. because-
Multi-tools and
yeah, we've got more stuff.
clips and
We're gonna
everything.
do. We had another whole 17-hour episode to talk about this. So let's call it a night. I think.
be prepared. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I think we can.
David Noble has a good suggestion. You can show what we use.
I think we can show it next week.
He's saying a small Allen wrench. I use a multi one that actually has
Little-
every size
Little guy
in
like
it.
that.
So I can fix everyone's tripod on a trip, not just my own.
All right, so make sure
I have a link
in
to that
2
too.
weeks we will be doing the small camera version of this. Primarily M, but also CL, TL2, and Q. Q2, QP. So definitely tune in. That'll be November. I don't have a date on this watch. What's today? The 7th? The 21st? November 21st. So tune into that. If you have questions either about the gear we talked about, the landscape stuff, or about 2 weeks from now with M, let us know. Email us, drop a comment so that we can have those ready, because we always have questions in advance that we try to get to as best we can for each episode. So you want to sign us off?
Sure. This is definitely, I would say, scratching the surface. I guess it's challenging to distill
Well, it's a lot of stuff.
a lot of topics and a lot of experience into one thing. And I mean, we could spend a whole episode just on tripod technique. And
We
how
may do
to-
that next year,
you know, how
because
to
we
get
have
better.
a lot of content in the wings still.
Yeah,
so.
tripod technique, filter technique.
Yeah.
Lining up for shot. There's a lot of technique, and it, I guess we take it for granted, but it's something that we do a lot on the workshops, which is, I mean, if anyone can chime in, I'm sure they'll agree with this. But I'll basically go around for the first few days and yell. I don't yell at people, but I will point out a better way to set up their tripod for much better usability. And I'm like, watch that leg. That's in the wrong place. Tighten that head. Little things like that. And it can make a really big difference, because you may not know those best approaches to get, that next level of either stability or quality or whatever, or be able to use a filter more effectively, etc. I think we all have a pretty good idea how to use the cameras and what different lenses do, but sometimes it's those little things and those little details that come in really handy. And those are just things you pick up over years of experience. So we're really excited. As things get back to normal, we're really looking forward to getting back in the field, and got some things on the books like Greenland in August, and
Colorado.
Southwest Colorado, Aspen to Telluride, fall foliage in late September, early October. Scottish Highlands and Isle of Skye in mid-October, and something else after that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get all that in for the ready, and really looking forward to getting back in the field, putting all this stuff back to use, because it's getting they want to get back outside and get wet and dirty and everything like that, because all this gear is meant to be used. So very exciting. I actually have a link to the photography workshops in the description, so you can check out the few that we've got up, and we've got more coming. So that's exciting. Stay tuned also for more information on the Colorado tripods, which we'll have up. I do have a link to all the breakthrough filters, I believe, and you can always check out all the articles on Red Dot Forum, all the resources, all the camera reviews, and clothing guides, gear guides, all that.
A lot.
A lot.
Years of content.
And join us, like Josh said, in 2 weeks. We're going to come back and do small landscape for those who don't want to carry all the things. But I guarantee it's great exercise, builds character, and you'll be glad you did it if you do go this way. And we're happy to talk to you more about that. Leave us some questions in the comments, and I can try to answer your questions there. As always, big thanks to Josh for putting up with me, and
I'm used to it.
Jose for handling all the technical challenges that get thrown his way, Kirsten for managing the comments, and for you guys for tuning in and watching us and continuing to stay with us on all of our exciting, super nerdy geek out sessions on cameras, lenses, bags, and snacks. And until next time, we will see you then.
Have a good
So
night,
thanks,
everyone.
guys.